You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome in once again to a rockin' awesome Saturday night up here in Boston. We have got so many things to discuss tonight, it's unbelievable. Have you been following what's going on in the world of the Jehovah's Witnesses? My goodness, I cannot believe all the bad, cynical news that's coming across the internet. Stay with us, don't go anywhere. Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to our JW World News right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. Well, my name's Rick Ferrin, and I am coming to you from the apostate capital of the world. I think most people know by now that I am a former Jehovah's Witness. I was basically a born-in, got the so-called truth when I was only about 4 or 5 years old. But I was in it for a number of years, friends, 50 years of my life in that cult. And I have to tell you something. I am glad that Satan kicked me out of his organization, as I always say. I was kicked out, or disfellowshipped, if you prefer to use that term. I was kicked out back in 2005 for, you guessed it, apostasy. And I'll tell you what, I'm in good company because we have a lot of apostates up here in Massachusetts. In fact, I call it the apostate capital of the world. And I'm in good company, and you're going to be in good company. If you don't have any apostates near you, don't be upset. Don't get mad or anything. They're coming. The apostates are going to be showing up shortly. Friends, the Watchtower is hemorrhaging. You know that. I don't have to tell you. You guys get on the internet. You see what's going on, all the bad press. Oh my goodness, the world is now attacking Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not just apostates. Man, we have allies fighting them. We have allies fighting the Watchtower, like countries, for example, Germany, Sweden, Norway, Russia, Denmark, Belgium. I mean, a number more too. And they're all now understanding the Watchtower does evil things. Well, you knew that right along, right? That's why you're out of this, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're listening in here tonight for the first time. Now, don't run off to the mountains. Stay here with us. I mean, fact check some of the things we're saying. If I feel that something is, I don't know for sure, I'll tell you, don't take it to the bank and cash it. But there's some things I do know for sure, and you can research it. Just don't be afraid. Punch it into the Google and check it all out. So anyways, I'm glad you're with us, and I'm glad that we have a good audience coming in here tonight. And we have been doing this, like I say, for 17 years. And I'm going to tell you something. We never missed a Saturday night. We have been here for 17 years, every Saturday night, and it didn't matter. We were here, and the reason why we are here is because you are here. You need this. I need this. All of us need it. We've all been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. And the thing that we have to keep in mind here is some people, they're able to get through this cult pretty much unscathed. they don't have too much residual difficulty. But many of the people listening into the program here tonight, man, some of them have been really, really hurt. And wait till you even hear the Red Pill program we got coming up tonight at 11. You're going to hear a man on that program that hosted that was extremely abused by the Watchtower. That's a great program at 11 o'clock tonight. But anyways, I just wanted to say that, yes, I am out of the Watchtower. I've been out since 2005, and I'm in good company. And I'm so glad you guys are all coming in here with me tonight. But let's talk about the biggest story on the internet this week by far. Oh, I couldn't believe what's being written here. They took Anthony Morris, just about all of his videos, from what I can see on jw.org, everything Tony ever said has been taken off of jw.org. Now, this seems to be the big buzz in the ex-witness world. I don't know if the Jehovah's Witnesses themselves are talking about it, but everything of Tony's just went up in smoke, just like that match that he lit, talking about the apostates and how they're going to be done away with. I'm going to put a picture of Tony up here, and this is the infamous Tony. Let me get him up here right now so you can see him. This is probably one of his more famous or infamous pictures that we all remember Tony on. Let's get him up here right now. And if you're on, here he is right there. That's Tony. Where's Tony? He's got a match in his hand. And of course, that was a video he did that really gained him the title of the most difficult governing body member for keeping under control. This guy just went over the top so many times. So there it is. I mean, his videos, everything he's done for the Watchtower for the number of years he's been involved with them has now been taken down from jw.org. So, I got thinking about this. I'm saying, well, that is something. But see, I was thinking today, this might be a great way to talk to your PME family. In other words, you have a family that's still physically in and mentally in the organization. This might be a good way to talk to them and perhaps even reach them. For example, you could really show your family, you could say, boy, did you hear about Tony Morris being no longer one of the governing body members? And, your family's going to be, shaking their head. And you can even mention, it won't sound too apostate, but you could say, see, mom and dad or sis, we're seeing that you put all of your hope in these Jehovah's Witness, don't say clowns, but say Jehovah's Witness governing body members. You always thought they were divinely guided, but here we have a man just disappear. I mean, how could God be guiding him when all of a sudden, poof, he goes up in smoke? Now, why would anyone follow or listen to anything else these men have to say? They can be removed at random, right, in a heartbeat. Tony's gone. Others have gone. Ray Franz in the past. And others that even Chitty and Greenleaves. How can anyone follow these people? How can anyone say they're God's channel when these people, boom, they get the axe? So we need to follow them according to what they're saying. We need to follow the governing body, even if it doesn't make sense. Does that make sense to you? How would you feel if you were still a witness, a loyal witness, and you heard that? Well, I counted 4 Watchtower magazines since 2013 that has said that you may hear things coming from the governing body that don't sound logical from a human standpoint, but it says just go along and believe it. Don't question it. Well, this is what I'm really beginning to question. The apostates are questioning it. How can you really tolerate being in how can the witnesses tolerate being in an organization that's constantly, it's like a raging sea right now? At least there's no control. The organization is out of control. As Bethelite used to always say, it's in the intensive care unit. It's on life support. And I do really mean that. Friends, I believe the Watchtower is dead. It just hasn't fallen over yet. Now, there was a confirmation. We all know that Tony Morris is no longer one of the governing body members. That was issued about a month ago. So now that they have taken everything down, I guess everything, I couldn't find anything on there about him. All his videos are gone. So now that they've taken everything down for the most part, maybe this is confirmation that he was kicked out. Now, don't take that to the bank and cash it, but I'm just, my brain is turning over here. I'm trying to come up with some thoughts here. Maybe that's confirmation he was kicked out, really. Now that nothing's going to be there of his. I mean, if he wasn't kicked out and he stepped down for health reasons or stepped down for family reasons, wouldn't those videos still be up there? But no, the Watchtower took it all down. And, I'm going to tell you this. In fact, I remember, this kind of reminds me of what's going on in this country right now. Now, you guys, if you're around long enough to remember Richard Nixon, well, he was a president. He was one of our presidents, right? But Richard Nixon resigned, and the U.S. government and even the Republican Party, they never tried to erase the history of Nixon's presidency. No, they wanted to preserve history, even though he was a criminal according to the government. But anyways, he stepped down from office, but they didn't erase everything. There's still a Richard Nixon library. There's still videos in American archives, government archives about Richard Nixon. They didn't remove the man. So you see, it got me thinking. It got me thinking. We hear the term a lot today, counterculture. I'm not going to make it political. I'm not. But we do hear that term, counterculture. And what that is the counterculture people, they want to destroy important history. Oh, yeah. They don't want to, go along with Columbus Day. They want to change the name. A number of these things. I'm not picking on anybody here tonight. I'm just telling you, I'm trying to do a story. And the counterculture came into my mind today because it appears to be like that's what the Watchtower is doing. They're actually destroying their history with Anthony Morris. They don't want anyone to get in there and see him. They don't want to talk about him. They removed him. But that's not the only thing the Watchtower has removed. The Watchtower has removed the pyramid right next to Russell's grave in that Rosemont Cemetery in Pittsburgh. So here we have another problem. The Watchtower appears to be very much like the counterculture today. They seem to be removing their history. They don't want to talk about things. They don't talk much about, when was the last time you heard 1914 in a Watchtower article? When was the last time you heard 1914 at a convention talk, on assembly talk? You don't hear about it. They're removing this from their history. Now, on the other hand, if Jehovah's Witnesses were real Christians, and they had this real feeling toward Christianity and preserving it, why don't they act like the Israelites? They were God's real people in the Bible, and they documented everything. And they didn't erase anything from their history, including all of the embarrassing sins of the kings, the false prophets, and the people they served. So if Watchtower is this all-encompassing, know-it-all Bible people, the only true Christians on the planet, why don't they just copy the Israelites? You don't have to remove history. Leave Tony Morris's videos up there. Oh, no. Cannot do that. So the Watchtower's dishonesty is at core. It's a level that's stunning to me. It's the nucleus. Dishonesty is the nucleus or the core of the level of the Watchtower. It's stunning that they even have stooped this low, but they always have, but it's getting worse. They are nowhere near being God's chosen people. Nowhere near. They can't even come close. They aren't even as honest as most secular governments that preserve their own history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Right. Secular governments will preserve it. And even the Catholic Church, they keep records. And even the bad popes, and through the centuries of time, even they had some pretty bad popes. You guys know that, right? And so even the Watchtower is not even, they always condemn the Catholic Church, but at least the Catholic Church doesn't appear to be destroying their history. Now, I know I'm going to get plenty of people, Rick, yes, the Catholic Church does it too. Well, give me an example. I could be wrong, but at least I do see that they keep even the bad pope's history up. They don't remove it from their archives. So anyways, I'm just thinking Tony Morris, and we've all been thinking about him. And we're all still asking, what happened to Tony? Where's Tony? Well, what happened to Tony? What's going to go on here with him? Is he going to pop up somewhere? Well, I'm thinking. My mind is going in a lot of different directions here at once. I'm trying to really hone in on what the reason Tony is no longer a governing body member is. Now, what I'm coming to grips with here, this all seems to, so you have to be like a Philadelphia lawyer here. I want you to play lawyer or detective here for just a little bit. Now, let's think about this. In the last 2 months, there's a major investigation in the state of Pennsylvania concerning congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses covering up child sex abuse. That's a known fact. It's been all over TV in Pennsylvania. It's a known fact. This is nothing anybody's making up here at the Six Screens. So we're going to have a big investigation. Every congregation in Pennsylvania, there's over 500 of them, have been summoned to bring forth records concerning any child sex abuse in their congregation. So it's ironic. Can we use that term? It's ironic that Tony Morris is kind of leaving the Watchtower at the same time this is all coming up. And I'm going to tell you why this caught my attention. Tony Morris had a lot of dealings in Pennsylvania. Oh, yeah. So are they removing him because all of his ties, a lot of it goes back to Pennsylvania? That's what I'm thinking. And maybe even Tony was involved in pedophilia. Now, I'm just saying, don't take that to the bank and cash it either. I'm just saying it. Maybe he was involved with it, or maybe he knew of some elders that were covering up child sex abuse. So Tony here is all of a sudden now the third monkey on Noah's Ark. He's no longer even showing up on Watchtower videos. He's gone, all erased. So is the Watchtower actually preempting this? Are they trying to, get him out of there before everything hits the fan? That could be the case. So when he is arrested, if that does take place, if he does get arrested, the PMEs, those active witnesses, they can just say, well, we don't really care. Jehovah's has always had people infiltrate the organization and have caused problems. So that's the way I'm thinking, friends. So Tony, not on jw.org, and there's more to the story, I'm sure, but that's my thoughts on it. If anyone has any thoughts and you want to speak up, you're on with us. *6 is all you got to do. It's
Joey.
Yeah, go ahead, Joey. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to tie into that, yesterday I watched a video again from Winston down in Jamaica, Watchtower Examination, and he did a video on that. But he also did a video on Serenko, the president. And if you go to the Watchtower website, according to him, and he had their website up, you cannot find his name. He had to dig. He called them and said, "Who is your president?" He got on the website, and there's one little deal in the Watchtower that says from like 10 years ago or 5 years ago or something like that, says that Serenko is the president, but he is not listed on their website as the president. So, and the other thing, like last week I commented on, they're not putting the governing body out in front since this Pennsylvania thing hit. You're not seeing them on broadcasting that much. Very, very little. It's all the helpers. So they're silence is golden. Silence is golden. Silence is golden. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chewy. It's just yes, go ahead.
Yep. Rick, just a quick thought. We know that the governing body monitors our broadcasts. We know it. Johnny the Bethelite was one of the monitors. They know that we're knocking the heck out of tight pants. And you would think that they would come on, one of the governing body members or some big shot elder would come on and argue with us if there was some real nice reason why he's not on the governing body anymore, like he's been sick or something like that. But nobody's coming on. Nobody's is challenging us, who are challenging why Tony Morris is not on the governing body. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dick. No, well, go ahead. You with us? Go ahead.
Well, I just got to say, Rick, just real quick. I don't think Tony Morris could be involved in the kind of child molestation or thing. Because one thing about Morris, I'm just going to say real quick, he had his faults. I'm not defending him per se, but at least he was anti-LGBT. So that was one thing about him that I liked personally. He did hate him.
All right.
So
well,
I like that.
Well, no, it's true. He was anti, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, he said that's what he did say. Well, thank you, Mike. All right. So let's take a look here, and let's go over here now. If anyone has anything else to say, go ahead, say it now. When we're here, we're moving to the next story. You want to say something about Tony? Go ahead.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
About a month ago, I did a video about this, and one thing that you have to understand is that they don't teach you this at the Kingdom Hall, but anybody who's involved in politics or studies politics knows this, that there's pictures, and I put pictures on the video where the Russians and the communists, the Nazis, even in England, they would always scrub people out of the pictures. So let's say, we're at, you and me and everybody, we're at Warwick, but then we don't like somebody. And then what we do is we scrub that person out of the picture. So all I'm saying is that birds of a feather flock together. The fact that Watchtower is doing the exact same thing that all of these people have done in the political history tells you who they're aligned with. Remember, Jesus says, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. It's true. If Watchtower walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, sounds like a duck, they're a duck. Same thing. When Watchtower is doing the exact same thing that Stalin, that Hitler did, that very powerful bankers did in England, and I put the pictures up there so people could see. This is what you learn. Evil people scrub you out of history, and like you said, even the Catholic Church doesn't do this. So what I'm saying is that Watchtower, by their deeds, are showing you who they think like, what spirit possesses them. This is not what you just describing. Is not what word could I say? It's not out of the ordinary. It's not there's nothing new here. They're of the same feather. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. But there is some. They're acting a lot different, Gilbert, than when you and I were in back in the 80s and 90s.
Correct.
They. I'll tell you what they're acting like to me. They're very, very nervous. They're not calm. It reminds me of a company that's going out of business. There's a lot of uneasy things that people can't connect with. They're saying things that people cannot connect with. They're all over the map, and they're different. They're a little different, but I mean, they've always pulled this type of stuff all the time.
Hey, Rick, they're imploding on themselves. Yeah, you're describing an implosion, like something that gets so big it implodes on itself. Yeah.
Well, that's what's happening, Gilbert.
Thanks, Rick.
Well, yeah, you're a good man, Gilbert. Yeah. You just don't ever change, buddy. We love you. Thank you.
Oh, Gilbert.
Yeah, go ahead,
Hey,
Guy.
Rick.
Hold on, Go ahead, Guy.
Before I forget, this is related to the situation with Tony Morris. There is a YouTube video from a long time ago by the other Tony, an ex-JW Tony named Tony Balkin. It's like a parody of a video games. What if Watchtower were video games? he has, in a way, predicted Toni Morris's demise in a way, but kind of different. But at the same time, I've been watching that video, and I could see how accurate the demise is if it were a video game.
Well, it's not a video
His
game.
name is Tony-
This isn't a video game with him now. This is the real thing, guy. Well, thank you. You play video games?
I know.
Do you play video games?
I have a few times. I watched the video game gameplay videos on YouTube, preferably without commentary.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Well, thank you for
Be sure
chiming
to reach out to Tony Balkin.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that, guy. Thanks for chiming in. Okay.
Hey, Rick,
we have. Go ahead, Randy.
You just remember, probably I think one of the best books or encyclopedias that we ever had. We just had it for a blink of the eye, and they got rid of it, and that was the Aid of Bible Understanding. And they did some other books too, but I even had a science teacher. He kept that on his desk. He wasn't even a witness, and he said how good that was. Well, we know why they got rid of it. It's because Friends had a lot. Raymond Friends had a lot of the research, doing the research and the writing of it.
Well, there you have it. My goodness. Well, thank you, Randy. Appreciate you coming in and talking to us tonight. Always good to hear from Randy. Thank you. All right.
Hey, Rick?
Yes.
I just wanted to add a point to Chewy's comment about Winston. I forget the name of his channel. He's on YouTube. Anyways, when he called Watchtower, and all he wanted to have was who was the president of Watchtower, and he went through transfer after transfer, and they wouldn't appease him, and he never got any information. He called like someone like the Latter-day Saints, and they like, we can bring you to his voicemail if you'd like. And they told him his name and everything. And he was showing the contrast. And my wife sent me that video, and by the time I clicked on it, it was taken down. I don't know if Watchtower had anything to do with that, but they didn't. I don't think they were too happy about that. And I thought I would just add that to Chewy's comment. I thought it was a really good comment.
Well, very good, Eric. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, no, they don't. They'll take stuff down in a heartbeat. If something doesn't, if all of a sudden they get a bunch of the apostates talking about a video or something that they've done, they'll take it right down. They will not keep it up. It's amazing to me how they do that. And the rank and file, the rank and file, they're asleep at the wheel. They're not, they don't follow this. The ex-witnesses know more about the Watchtower than the witnesses that are in there going to meetings all week long. Really. I just want to ask, is Norman LaRoe on with us? Is Norman on with us? Hit *6, Norman, if you are. All right. Well, anyways, he was going to come on at this point, so we'll just see what happens here. And he might be on a little while. But I just want to also, let's move to another story here. I want to bring up the conventions, the assemblies. They're all starting now. The circuit assemblies are in full gear. The conventions are right around the corner. They start kicking up here in another month. But some of the assemblies, I'm getting some information in here to the 6 screens, and it's quite amazing to me. One person was sharing some information with me concerning the assembly she just went to, and she said it was the tamest assembly she's ever been to, and there was no wailing or, pounding the hand on the table about apostates. There wasn't that. And there was no, ranting and raving about all the bad world conditions. And get this, there was no homophobia, none of it. There was nothing about it. In fact, they said the branch overseer was at this particular assembly, and he said that he actually cited homophobia as a product of hate and was paired with other things we shouldn't exhibit. The witnesses shouldn't exhibit. So that is kind of unusual. I mean, I never heard anything like that. It seems like they're now pandering, or at least trying to cozy up. I mean, they've always condemned homosexuals, right? They always did, but all of a sudden, this last assembly, the branch overseer is actually saying that homophobia is a product of hate if you don't do it. And that's what he's saying. So, the Watchtower, I got shaken. I scratched my head when I heard this. So since when has the Watchtower been friendly to homosexuals? I mean, even Tony Morris, as we just had a man come on and say, maybe he was actually against homosexuality as the Watchtower is, and he really made it emphatic. But the point I'm trying to make, why is the Watchtower doing this? Friends, I have to tell you, there's something that after many years of doing this program, I'm starting to put two and two together. I never really thought about it until really this week, what I see going on even in our own government. But one of the biggest tricks that the Watchtower uses in their bag of tricks, and they got many of them, they're like magicians. They spend countless hours preparing and practicing for the big show of illusion, and they never expose their secrets. Like magicians, the Watchtower Society puts forth considerable effort in a clever and manipulative preparation of their writings to present ingenious statements and masterful arrangements of misleading propositions. You say, what does that all mean? I took that right off of our website, Six Screens of the Watchtower. What that means is they're going to sound very masterful. They are a mind-controlling organization, and they utilize cheap hypnotic tricks to convince their followers they have the truth. So what's the point I'm trying to make? So the Watchtower comes off at this assembly, and the branch overseer gets up, and he says that, don't, be kind to homosexuals. Don't jump up. Don't become homophobic. He's saying this at assembly. So now what I'm picking up here, my antennas are going up on this one. So here's what we got. See, the Watchtower is a shining example of massaging, snowing, conning, stroking the listening audience. They're a shining example of that. They're masterful. Now, just listen closely. The Watchtower, the Jehovah's Witnesses look like exemplary people. They dress nice. The women wear nice dresses. They comb their hair. They put makeup on. The men wear suits or a sport jacket, a tie, a shirt. The witnesses don't smoke. They don't swear. They talk a good game on morality. They come across as, they would never commit sexual perversion. They would never have pedophiles. They come across like that. But don't be fooled. Hitler was also nice. Hitler would often comment about the fact that he loved animals. And, when a person who loves animals, generally they're a nice person, right? That's what you would think. But Hitler loved animals. So just because there is a mask of virtue doesn't mean pure evil isn't beneath it. Yeah, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by the pretty dresses, the men with clean-shaven faces, polished shoes, clean book bags. Don't be fooled by all of that. That is all just a mask that they're wearing. And seriously, this is what the Watchtower has been doing for years. So the world always looked at the witnesses as this way. So I'm thinking at this assembly, now they're starting to cozy up to the homosexuals, which really, they've never done that before. Never, ever, ever. So I think they're doing it because there's so much critical media coverage going on right now in Japan, Norway, Germany, Belgium, Sweden. There is so much media coverage about the child sex abuse, about the shunning and how they're hurting people. So I believe they're trying to do these things to be calmer, to be more soft, more dovish than usual until the public attention settles. That they have to come across as dovish, that they can't come across as hawkish. I mean, being like, we're the king of the mountain. They got to kind of let loose a little bit. And I think that's what they're doing. Now, the entire purpose of these assemblies and conventions, there's only one purpose the Watchtower has in mind. There's two purposes, really: to steer people's emotions. They want to hijack your thinking. They want to rent space in your head. That's what they do at conventions, and it's also a great fundraiser. But here's another thought, and I know the audience might not agree with me 100% on this, but this is something that I'm starting to catch up on too, as I've been reading Watchtowers, as I've been listening to JW streaming, as I've been listening to various things the witnesses are putting out. I'm noticing that the witnesses are saying a lot of things lately that would appeal to the more liberal witness. Yeah, now don't get offended if you're a liberal or a conservative. Don't worry, this isn't a political talk here. But it's a known fact. There's people that are liberal and there's people that are conservative. So it looks like as of late that the Watchtower, at least in view of this assembly and some other things I've heard, they're taking this liberal stance to be able to appeal to the liberal Jehovah's Witnesses. Because even in the Jehovah's Witness religion, don't you think for 1 minute that everybody is all in the same camp. There's liberal witnesses, and yes, there are conservative Jehovah's Witnesses. So this particular assembly, they're appealing to the liberal witness. Now, the next assembly, they may appeal to the conservative witness. And, in fact, I always, when the assemblies are over, I was always so glad to get up and pack my bag because it was over. So that's something I wanted to bring to your attention today. And that's what the assembly is like, according to this person that gave me information on what it was like. Very tame. Any thoughts on that?
Well,
Go ahead.
The Methodists, they just split their church into two different denominations over the gay issue that has now become law of gay marriage and so forth. And the interesting thing of left and right paradigm, it didn't start in the 40s or the 1920s. It started right after the French Revolution. I just finished 500 pages on some of this stuff. And the idea, they want to divide and conquer. And also, the biggest power trip is dependency. If they can get their members dependent on them for thinking, well, then you're addicted.
That's how it works, Pixie. That's how it works. That's for sure. All right. Well, let's move on. Anyone have any else? You want to say something else about tame? Go ahead. You're with us.
Hello, Rick.
Yeah, hold on, Norman. In fact, I'm going to bring you in. Let's get on to the memorial. Yeah, let's get on to the memorial. Let me talk a little bit about it. Then I'm going to bring you in. You can talk. All right. You just hang in there.
You got it.
All right. Yep. Well, that's
Can
not.
I make a quick comment?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so my theory is that they're being more tame regarding the LGBTQ community because when they go to court, they're going to want their human rights. So they're going to be talking. So I think they're just leaning that way for that reason. They have to show some respect for human rights to get respect for their human rights.
Linda, bingo. You hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly what they're doing. It's called pandering. Geez, because right now they're investigating, the witnesses in Norway. And what we have is, they're going to be brought in, or at least they're writing letters and they're trying to defend themselves. And because they're not good with human rights. So they're just throwing this out right now. So they, so the word can get around. Oh, the witnesses, they're not homophobic, Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, what do you think about the transgender?
Let's stop that. No, we're not going to get into that. Okay, that's off topic. It's off topic, Mike. What does that have to do with the price of tomatoes? It's off topic. I'm not going to talk about it.
She was just talking. She's one of them weird people.
All right, you're out of here. All right. Yeah, he wants to do this, so push him out of here. Okay, so anyways, let's move on. We've got the memorials coming up. That's coming up Tuesday night. Of course, that'll be April 4th. That's a Tuesday night coming next week. And we're all getting ready for memorial. I'll tell you, the witnesses, they are really making a big deal out of this memorial. I'm telling you, I've never seen as much activity taking place in the witness world to get more people coming to the memorial than right now. Everywhere you look, they're asking people on Facebook. People are texting. See, with the social networks, this is another avenue to get people to come. They're writing messages and texting, come to the memorial, come to the memorial. So, I mean, they're trying to get everybody there, and they have to get them there. This has got to be a big attending memorial for the Jehovah's Witnesses. Why? Why? Because the governing body is looking very closely. They have been promulgating their lies, saying that they have been growing like crazy, even through COVID, which we know they're not. So if they have a poor attendance at the memorial, it's going to really make them look bad. So they got to get everybody to the memorial. So they're inviting everyone. Well, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be to the memorial, but I'm not going to go inside the Kingdom Hall. But I'm going to be outside the Kingdom Hall. And if all goes well, you're talking rain. I don't know if it's raining, pouring, you can't really do it. But if all goes well, I'm going to be there Tuesday night, and we're going to do a live broadcast right from right in front of the Wilmington Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. I've already got the permit, and I'll be there. We'll be taking telephone calls, and we'll be flashing our signs, and we'll be talking about what goes on in that Kingdom Hall. People are going to be shocked when they hear some of the things that have been taking place in the witness world in the last year, but yet they can get together on Memorial Night, and, they are the best organization on the planet for spreading God's truth. So I don't know about that, but I got a man that wanted to come in here tonight. He says, Rick, you out there, Norman, come on and say hello to us.
Rick up there.
Here you are. Yep.
I tried to dial earlier, but for some reason it didn't work. When you called me, I tried to dial *6 and it wouldn't work. So I had to redial, and by that time you had gone to another subject. So I patiently sat here waiting and enjoyed your program.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I wanted to talk to everyone up there who's part of this program, who listens to this program, who gets information from this program and learns and shares in this program. Your host, Rick. I've known Rick for a long time. I've known him ever since he was leaving the Watchtower. And Rick is a good and wonderful and honest and dedicated man. And he has been out there year after year after year with the memorial meeting. And I have been out there for, I think, about 12 years with you. From the very beginning, ever since the very first protest, I have been out there with Rick, holding signs, watching people go in and out of the Kingdom Hall. Been out there in cold weather, and it's been a wonderful experience. I've even brought my wife and my kids there. That's how dedicated we've been to this cause. I've only missed 1 year, and that's because we had to cancel because of wet weather. This year, unfortunately, I cannot be there because I'm quarantining. I contracted COVID back a week ago.
Hey, Norman, we got a little bad connection. You close to your phone?
Yes, I am. Let me grab the other phone. Hold on.
Okay.
Is this any better?
Oh, 10 times better. Yep.
Okay, good. I contracted COVID last week, and unfortunately, I still have to be quarantining, and I'm still not feeling my best. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it to this memorial. So that means with me not being there, and Dick Borgie has been there for years and years. Dick is just a wonderful man. Rick, Dick, if you're listening, we miss you quite a bit up here. Dick has been a wonderful guy. We would hold signs together and talk, and he's just a tremendous man. But I can't be there, so with me not being there and with Dick not being there, Rick is going to be out there alone. And he should not be out there alone. If there is anyone out there from the Massachusetts area, southern New Hampshire, or if you're willing to make the trip anywhere from in New England, please contact Rick and go down to the Wilmington Kingdom Hall this coming Tuesday, the 5th, to go out there and protest with him. There is nothing to be afraid of. No one's going to attack you. No one's going to turn you in. They're not going to pull you out from the street and stick you into the back of the in the back of the hall and reprimand you in the back room. Nothing like that. Rick has the permits. In years gone by, they called the police on us, and the police come by. They make sure that we're on our side of the street, which we always are, and it's always been good. Rick is very, very good about making sure that everyone is safe. When you go there, you'll be standing across the street. The Kingdom Hall is on a dead-end street, so there's no long stretches of road, and there's no busy streets where people will be driving by and making you feel unsafe. It's a very small road, and I tell you, you will get a huge kick out of this. You will see the witnesses going in. You'll see them looking at you out of the corner of their eye, trying to read the signs, trying to see what's happening, because it's busy out there. As far as all of Rick's signs and everything, he does a wonderful job. He puts on this huge display. It's like almost like a big Christmas display. It's huge out there, and he does this all by himself. Well, actually, I do it with him, but he gets everything all set up, and we stand out there. The witnesses, they go in the back door. They don't go in the front door. They go in the back door whenever they see the signs out there, because they don't want their people to see what's happening. If you can make it, please make it. If you like to wear a mask, if you want to be anonymous, that's okay. Wear a mask, wear a hat, wear a jacket. Nobody will ever recognize you out there, but bodies do matter. I know that Rick has put the cameras up and everything. They don't have to focus on you if you don't want them to. But it's a wonderful experience. You'll come off the protest with a high, because it's amazing what happens out there. So don't be scared. Don't be shy. Contact Rick and go out there and let the witnesses know that there are other people out there who feel the same way that they do. You know, they're scared. If you're out there, they feel less scared and less alone. It'll be a wonderful experience. So please, join Rick this week. Join Rick on the Tuesday the 5th. Please join him. He needs the help. He's not a young man anymore, as neither am I. He needs the help out there. We need the bodies. Please go and show a solidarity with Rick. I know that you've been listening to programs for weeks or months or years. Now is the time to join him. Rick does not ask a lot from people. He asks very, very little. But please, I'm asking for him because I know he's not going to. But please join him out there this coming Tuesday. It's very, very, very important.
Well, very good, Norman. But, I have to tell you that what we're going to do this year, too, is something very unusual. Well, we're going to have the first, because I know a lot of people can't be here and traveling and what have you, but if anybody can, that'd be wonderful, too. But here's what I'm thinking that we're going to do. We're going to have the first virtual ex-Jehovah's Witness protesting against the witnesses ever in the history of the Watchtower. We're going to do, what I'm doing is I'm going to set up the cameras. We're going to have, I've got electronic signs. You can see one in my studio here, but I've got another one that I got recently, full color. I mean, you can't miss it. It's really nice and bright. I can put a number of messages on it, and people have to see it. I mean, that thing will blind you coming down the road. And what we're going to do, and the way I say we're going to have a virtual protest is you can call up during the program. There's the same number that you called up to come into the program tonight, and you can tell me what you would like to have on a sign. Now, I want you to think about it. Maybe you're thinking, wow, I'd like to put something on a sign that I've been wanting to hold in front of a Kingdom Hall for years. So Tuesday night, you can call up on the telephone, say, Rick, would you put this on your electronic message sign? And I can do that. Right as we speak, I can put the sign up, and there's your sign flashing in front of all the people in front of the Kingdom Hall. So we can do that. And plus, we're also going to talk about it's the memorial on the memorial. Now, what does that mean? Well, of course, they're having their memorial, and we appreciate and understand, the Christians do, that, Jesus did die, and he said to do this in remembrance of me. So I'm not picking on their, well, we'll talk a little bit about that Tuesday night. But what I am saying is I also want to mention the memorial for people that have died because of Watchtower policy. People have died from refusing blood transfusions. People that have died from suicide. People that have died from just the overall madness of being disfellowshipped. So anyways, we're going to be talking about that. And I have a number of people that will be talking about it as well and calling in and sharing their thoughts on this. So it's going to be a virtual protest. So even if you can't go out there and stand in person, come in virtually. Be a virtual protester. And that would be wonderful. Well, thank you, Norman. Your commission check's in the mail.
Well, Rick, if I could just say one more thing.
Yeah.
Folks, you just heard a very humble man. I've been begging for help for him, and he doesn't even ask. But please, if you can be out there, even just to go and help him to set up his equipment. It takes a lot of work to set up all that equipment. Go and help him set up his equipment. And if you can, stand out there with a mask on or whatever, and help and be by his side. I have been by his side for many, many years, and I tell you, there's nothing like it. He needs the help. Please, if you're in the Merrimack Valley area, if you're in Massachusetts and New England, make the trip. It's going to be well worth it. Rick, I'm going to be with you on that night too.
All right. Well, you come in, Norman, and we can talk about some of the other, because we go for a few hours. And what we'll do is we'll talk when they're in there. We'll talk about, in fact, I'll tell you what we're even going to be doing. If you're a Christian, now, if you're not a Christian, don't head for the mountains here. But we're going to partake as well. We're actually going to partake. I'll have some grape juice there, and we'll say a little prayer for those that want to partake. So, but I just want to, because we have a lot of people listening to this program other than even ex-witnesses and even witnesses. We have Christians. So I want them to understand what the Jehovah's Witnesses do. So I'll explain what they do. We won't take up a lot of time doing that, but we'll all partake, those that want to. And you can see how it's done. I mean, it's nothing magical about it. There's nothing secretive or esoteric about it. We're going to put it in the open. We're actually going to celebrate the death of Christ right there on Tuesday night. So by all means, come in with us. Well, thank you, Norman.
Thank you, Rick. It's great to be with you.
We'll see you Tuesday night, at least in virtual. Thank you.
I'll virtually see you Tuesday night.
Good man. Thank you, Norman. All right. Well, that's Norman LaRoe. Boy, he's a great man too. He's always he's always building me up, and I want to build him up too. He's a good man. He's always been there with me, and he never was a Jehovah's Witness, and that's what really is surprising to me. Do you know how many people are actually opposers? They never were a witness, but they want to join forces. They want to be allies. So, boy, there's more than we think out there that say this Jehovah's Witness organization, it's a sham, and they want to be part of the movement that we got going. Who'd like to speak up? You're on our side. Go ahead.
Yeah, Rick, this is Michael. How you doing?
Hey, Michael, I'm doing good.
Good. Hey, I think that this memorial's on the wrong day. I think it's nice and 14th is when it usually is. That's when a Passover is. And I think they're going a day early. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I thought that too, but what it is, the Jewish calendar. They go by the Jewish calendar. And the Jewish, it's sundown. It's sundown on the 4th.
That's right.
So that's
right. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I got it as, because I looked it up and I thought it's the same thing, but I believe that's what's going on. So they go by the Jewish calendar. Yep. Yeah.
All right.
So how's Michael doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I love listening to you. I'm listening to you watching the basketball games.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad you can do that, Mike. I'm glad you can do that. You can multitask. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah. If I was a little closer to you, if I wasn't in Ohio, I would be there with you.
I know you would, and I want to say that too. It's hard for people to do this, And there's a number of factors: travel, expense, but also the fact it's look at I was nervous the first time I went out there too. I'm not going to say that, oh, this is easy. Hey, I had butterflies. I was nervous as could be. And I knew the very first night I was out there, that would have been 2005. I forget the year, but I believe it was 2005 and 2004 even, because I was still a card-carrying witness. I wasn't disfellowshipped, and I went out there before I was disfellowshipped and did that. So I knew the elders were going to come out there. So I was still attending the Kingdom Hall. They didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden, 3 elders came out. So three elders came out. I had signs. I had 23 people there and protesting. So the elders came out, all 3 of them at once. And they said, what are you doing out here, Rick? Well, what's going on? I says, I'm just doing a little peaceful protest. They said, about what? I says, well, read the signs. So
that sounds like a witness.
Yeah. So the signs were there.
I always say, I talk to witnesses all the time, and they know the least about their religion than any people I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was crazy because it said, Jehovah's, one of the signs I had said Jehovah's Witnesses break up families. Another sign I had is over, 23,000 pedophiles in the organization. I says, you can see it right on the signs. And they said, well, what are you doing this for? I says, because my daughter and my son-in-law are in there tonight, and they won't speak to me. So I wanted to try to get their attention. So they says, well, we're going to have to talk about this. But I tell you, they were ripping mad. And then another sister came out. I couldn't believe it. She's taking pictures of us. She came out of the Kingdom Hall, and she's taking pictures of us. And I says, Barbara, what are you taking pictures for? I says, well, why are you doing that? She says, well, I want to show them to my friends, So it was crazy. It was crazy. But we've been down there now, and we only missed, there's a couple of years, one with COVID, and the other time we had a wicked storm. But I'm going to tell you, I found it very fascinating. And I know for a fact that many witnesses were reading the signs. The neighbors were very supportive. They came up. Wow, we've always known something was strange about these people. So, we did a good witness. I always get a permit. I went down the police station the other day, and that's not a problem. I'm kind of a serial protester here, so there's no problem. They send the police cars down, and the police cars are checking on us and making sure everything's right. Yeah.
What time is it going to be that you're going to be broadcasting approximately?
Well, if all goes well, Pixie, we're going to start somewhere around 6:00, and that'll be on YouTube and Facebook, and of course on our radio telephone network. Yep.
Okay. My idea for a sign is take a sip with Mediator JC.
All right. So
thanks for that one.
So, in other words, what are you referring to? I don't want to sound ignorant, but JC, take a sip with Jesus Christ, right? I got you. I was thinking the first thing that popped in my mind was Judicial Committee. I wasn't putting 2 and 2 together.
Well, you was probably more right than her.
Yeah, well, I like to see the Judicial Committees take a sip. They stay far away from it, that's for sure. Well, that's a good one. I might put that out there, Pixie. I might put that one out there. Yeah.
Hey, Rick, how did you come along getting Fritz to do an interview? And how did that come about?
Well, I'll tell you, it was about 2:00 in the morning, and all of a sudden I got a text. I keep the phone by my bed, and people are texting me all night. So I really don't even, at first I used to, hear it and wake me up, but I don't know. I get so many texts coming through here that I can kind of sleep through it and I check it the next morning. But this one woke me up. It dinged and dinged. So I said, gee, what's happening? So I figured I'd get up with a glass of water. So it was Fritz Springmeier. And he said that he's been watching the 6 screens and he is really fascinated with the program. So he said that he'd like to talk to me. Could I please give him a call? So I called him the next day and we talked for and I'd say a few hours for 2 days, really, and got him all primed up. And he wanted to come on the program. So I says, come on and let's let you roll, Fritz. So he did it.
Was you surprised how many people called in that night and how long it went on?
Yeah, it was one of our busiest nights here at the Six Screens for people listening in. We have 7 computers that run here in our studio. You can't see them because I'm gonna get another camera. I'm gonna be able to show you all the computers I got, so you have a back view of it. But my computer screen was lighting up like I've never seen it before. At one point, it looked like 20 people trying to call in at the same time. I'm serious.
Yeah.
And so I had.
I believe it.
Yeah, they all wanted to talk to him. Yeah.
Yeah, when when I left Jehovah's Witnesses, and then I started to come back to Jesus Christ, I actually had a prayer. I prayed to God that, look, I don't want to get taken down the beaten path again. Please give me understanding, Father, to where I should go. And Fritz was one of the first books I come across to read about.
Yeah, what was the book? The Illuminati book?
Yeah, and that was probably 20 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And so I got into that, and then I started to see. I was it like opened my up. I was like a mini Jimmy Bell, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I started to get opened up and seeing how this game really works. Went to Israel, studied under the rabbis there. It was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, when you ask God for something, hold on, because if you're sincere, He'll give it to you. And I had so much knowledge, I didn't even want to talk about it no more.
Well, I'll tell you, the book. I mean, I was familiar with the book. I got the book. At first, 20 years ago. Let's face it. He was the first. He was before Alex Jones.
Yes.
He was the first man
Yes,
to
he
really
was.
come out. He did a lot of research. So, a lot of people, they thought he was nutty. In fact, you want to even see you want to see the comments I'm getting in the emails. People, why'd you bring Fritz on? That man is nutty. I says, well, geez, yeah, that's what they're saying. But a lot of people say, no, we love him.
Yeah.
So he has a big fan base, but he's very controversial. And not everybody. I had one guy write me today and saying there's no such thing as the Illuminati. Can he prove otherwise? It looks like there is an Illuminati. I don't care what you call them, the Great Reset people or whatever, but there's something going on out there, Mike, that just isn't sensible anymore. Just not sensible,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
if you don't believe it now, you're not going to.
Well, there's more and more people. There's a big time radio talk show host up here in Boston. His name is Howie Carr. And, a few years ago, all these people would call in and say, oh, there's another person with a tinfoil hat on. And there's another person, with this conspiracy stuff. But, now this Boston radio guy, he's a writer also for the Boston Herald newspaper up here. And he's now saying, geez, I'm beginning to see what these guys were talking about years ago. There's something to all of this. There's something to all of it. Yeah. But, people want to just dismiss it, and they can. And I don't look at, there's some things, too, that Fritz says that I'm not totally in agreement with. There's some things Jimmy said and Reese and some of these other people, I don't agree totally with them. But I have my ears and eyes open. I got my antenna up. I'm willing to listen to what everybody says. And that's what we try to do here at the Six Screens. People get on my case. Nobody else talks about satanic ritual abuse. Nobody else talks about the automatic writing and some of the things. We cover the whole gamut here at the Six Screens. We talk about everything, Oh, go ahead. You're on with us.
That's why I like you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
We got Montreal. Go ahead.
I could talk to you all night long. I'll let you go.
Well, thank you, Mike. Go ahead, Montreal. You're on with us, Annie.
Hi, Rick. Thank you for the show as always. The first thing I wanted to say is that I checked. Well, we all know that the memorial is usually on what they said, Nisan the 14th, and so I checked on the net, and they've even got the date wrong this year. It's actually the April 5th, not the 4th.
Yeah, that seems. Yeah, go ahead.
No, okay, fine. So, but the whole thing is when knowing what we know now, it's especially the blatant insults to Jesus to not partake. And when he specifically said, "Do this in remembrance of me," that is like the worst, I find. And being an XJW, it's really, really nice that we can now partake if we so desire. And I certainly am looking forward to, in my own four walls, to partake. I even have some Manischewitz, which is, special kosher wine. And I'm really looking forward to that, to honor Jesus' sacrifice. And I wish I could be with you people over there. I would love to, actually, but I'm too far away, and, but I'll be with you in spirit. So more or less what I wanted to say.
Well, very good, Annie, and we will be partaking there too. So you can do that with us if you're listening in. That'd be wonderful. Thank you. But by the way, too,
and that's the beauty of.
I'm sorry.
So I just wanted to say that's the beauty of being free, of knowing what's what, so to speak, and knowing that their teachings are completely off the wall. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
I wanted to say too about that Nicene 14. What it is, at least from what I can see, and I could be wrong. It's just I'm bouncing back and forth with this one. But I originally saw it too, and I was saying, gee, they're actually celebrating the memorial a day early. Nicene the 14th actually would be April 5th. Now they go by the Jewish calendar. But
exactly.
Now remember though, what happens in the Jewish calendar is they count the day from sundown the previous day. So that's where
okay.
So that's how they got this.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's.
But they're still wrong because they're they're still wrong because they're rejecting basically.
Oh
Yeshua.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. Well, we'll talk about that too on Tuesday night. I want the world to know because we have other people listening in here rather than just ex-witnesses and witnesses. So, yeah, I want them to know. Well, thank you. Always good to hear from Annie up there in Montreal. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.
Yes.
As far as the memorial being, the date is contested, it all has to do with when they count. It's the first full moon after the spring equinox. So it has to do when they start counting from the full moon. And the Jews are right and Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong this year. This is the first year I've known them to be wrong.
Yeah, well, they must have done it for a reason. They probably thought they could get more people there on Tuesday than Wednesday. I don't know. But yeah, no, a number of people have been telling me that because, we'll see what happens. We'll probably learn more, but it's complex. It's really complex. But thank you, Susan. Thank you very much for coming in. And
well, the main thing is that they have it, and of course the main thing is that we're there to protest it. Whatever day they happen to have it on, it's the right time to protest.
It's always the right time to protest, Susan. I see that protest blood is boiling in you too. Good girl.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
All right. Well, there you have it. Boy, I'll tell you what, as I go over this stuff for the news, it just completely flabbergasts me. Is that the word I should be using here? I'm astonished that the Jehovah's Witnesses get away with what they do, and they do it quite good. But I don't know about Norway. The Jehovah's Witnesses are having a lot of problems in Norway. As a matter of fact, last Wednesday and Thursday, the Jehovah's Witnesses were fighting the government of Norway, fighting their decision to remove their registration as a religious community. Did you know that? We've been talking about this on JW World News. And what it is Norway does not like the Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, why? Because they don't like the shunning that goes on. They call it exclusion. The Norwegian government says the Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong excluding people, especially children, or that would be disfellowshipping and shunning. So the Norwegian government's upset about it. And as we've said before, and you guys mostly know it as well, that in Norway, the Watchtower gets money for each individual witness. Oh, yeah. In Europe, that's what the witnesses do. They get money from the government for individual witnesses. It's a way that Europe feels they're helping poor people. They put money to the churches to hand out to the poor, but the Watchtower doesn't hand money out anyways, but at least the government thinks they do. But to make a long story short, Norway wants to take away the religious status of Jehovah's Witnesses, and the witnesses are going ballistic. They actually sued the Norwegian government, and the witnesses are upset, mostly according to what I'm reading. They're saying, if you take that religious status from us, we won't have the right. We will not have the right to seal marriages. In other words, you can't be married as a Jehovah's Witness. You can't have a Jehovah's Witness marry you. Now, I mean, you still can get married in Norway if you're a witness. You're just going to have to go to another person who does it. Here you go to a justice of the peace. I don't know how it works in Norway. Maybe pretty much the same. But the point is, so they're complaining to Norway that you take away our religious status and we can't officiate weddings. That's baloney. They're not really fighting for that. They're fighting for the $2 million they're going to be losing every year. They want that money. So the administrator in Oslo, the capital of Norway, he is really fighting this badly. He wants to really remove the witnesses, and they're having a heart attack. And it's all about this this shunning. And how when a person is shunned, the Norwegian government knows about it as well as other governments. When a person is shunned, members and friends are forbidden to contact or have any connection at all with these witnesses that are being shunned. And it's a terrible practice, and it's wrong, and it's very harmful. Norway realizes it harms the children more than anything else. It socially isolates them. It's one thing for an adult to be shunned, and then that's hard enough. But for a young person, say 17, 18 years old, to be shunned, that is a real serious problem. So they really want to take the religious status away. Well, no, they haven't made a ruling on it yet, but only time will tell. And but I'll tell you something, friends. Going over, I read a number of articles from the Norwegian newspapers all about this, and I've been reading it right along now. So they're still in a position of they haven't really settled it yet. The court case is still open. But now here's something I want to speak to our community about here. In a newspaper I was reading this week from Norway, and it was translated. It translated it through Google. So what they were saying is the man that's in charge of the court, he even wrote in the newspaper in Norway concerning what happened with Anthony Morris. Now, what do you think about this? Now, this really got me thinking. So, anyways, in this newspaper, the commissioner of the court, he was saying that the ruling body of Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide, he called it the Supreme Council, but we recognize it as the governing body. So he's acknowledging the governing body or Supreme Council in this newspaper article. And then he knew that Anthony Morris was removed, and he even brought that up, that the governing body member was removed. And the reason why he brought Anthony Morris up, now get a load of this. Listen closely now, okay? Listen closely. I don't want to convolute this. But anyways, in the Norwegian newspaper, they were talking about Anthony Morris publishing a video on jw.org in which Anthony Morris condemned the ruling of the state administrator in Norway and said that the community would not budge on its exclusion practice. So this is your buddy Tony. He just said in a video not too long ago, because he was upset that Norway wasn't going to give them their money and wanted to exclude them, take away their religious status. So Morris opens his big mouth and said in a video that he doesn't care. He's not going to budge. He says, we're not going to budge on the shunning practice. So, I mean, that would tick the administrator of the court off as well, wouldn't it? Of course it would. So, and then he said in the future, this is Tony Morris now. Tony said in the video that various governments will challenge our freedom to worship. They may try and pressure us to change our view of scriptures, but we certainly won't do that. He said that in the video. So what are you going to do here if you're the administrator of the court in Oslo, Norway, and you are seeing the witnesses have monumental issues with shunning and exclusion, and this guy comes out, Tony Morris, we're not going to budge. You could care less what Norway is going to say. So, I'm just thinking here, Tony also said, this is another thing Tony said in that video, and we played the video, but I don't have it now because I can't get it. They took it down. But in addition, Tony Morris also said, according to this administrator of the court in Oslo, he announced the opening of a new office in Europe that is meant to defend the right to practice the faith. This is just what the court administrator needs to hear, right? And then he also brought up in the newspaper in Norway that Morris just resigned as a member of the governing body. And the witnesses have not made one reason in public for this. They gave no reason at all why he resigned. So I'm just thinking now, just put your thinking cap on just for a second. Just put your thinking cap on for a second. I'm wondering, was Tony Morris here sacrificed because his statement was too inflammatory? I mean, this is going to cost him a couple of million a year. But are they seeing that maybe Tony has been a little inflammatory? Could this be one of the reasons why they removed Tony? I mean, he had hard line attitude toward everybody. He was arrogant. We all know that. And he would come on and say things that were very hard line, disturbed a lot of people. So I'm just thinking maybe they got rid of Tony ahead of time. And they want to make it, they want to make every effort they can to wiggle out of the evilness of their shunning policy. Geez, if that's what Norway is condemning them for, and you have a governing body member, Morris, come on and start shooting his mouth, what do you think that's going to do for the court? So get rid of him, and the Watchtower can now say to the court in Norway, he was out of line. We got rid of him. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. So they do that. So it's very hypocritical of the Watchtower to demand religious freedom in Norway that they're doing while denying everybody else no freedom. That's how I feel about it. What do you guys think? You're on with us. Hit *6. Come on. Say hello to us. What do you think about all of this? Do you think Tony was way out of line? I mean, even the administrator of the court.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Jeff. I was going to say, I kind of think they think he's bad for business.
You got that one right.
He's saying stupid things and he's making people mad. And, I mean, look at his past. He's caught in that liquor store Sunday morning buying $1,000 worth of alcohol. I mean, loading in a Cadillac and leaving. And yeah, I mean, that's bad for business, I would say.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's no longer with them. Everything's been removed from what I can see from jw.org, anything about him. So, if he still was on the side of the witnesses, or they still had favor in Tony, they wouldn't have taken all his stuff down. It's like you have a rebellious kid living in your house, and he gets 18, and he leaves. You take everything down, and that's it. Everything in his room down.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing to Tony. So, I mean, he's not wanted there anymore from what I can see.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, who else would like to chime in? We do have a number of people.
Hey, Rick, I was thinking about, the governing body, do they disfellowship? Has he been formally disfellowship? Because if all this stuff has disappeared, I mean, something major must be going on. So Is the governing body above being disfellowshipped, or he is considered as such? Because, like I said, they scraped all his stuff away, so something major has happened.
Well, what we have to do here, Shirley, is we have to go by historical record. We got to take a look at the 4 governing body members, 3 prior to Tony, that have left the Watchtower that weren't disfellowshipped. Let's go with Ray Franz. Now, he left the Watchtower. He's not disfellowshipped when he left. They disfellowshipped him, I believe it was about probably 6 months later. I don't know the time, but it was about 6 months later for having lunch with an apostate, a known apostate. And then we had Leo Greenlees. He wasn't disfellowshipped. They just moved him on to another branch. And the same thing with Chitty. Those 2 people were sexual deviants, and they were just moved on, and they weren't disfellowshipped either. So historically, we have a man now, Tony Morris, that has left the Watchtower, and they just said he's no longer a governing body member. Whether he left on his own or whether they gave him the boot, they didn't say. But one thing we do know for certain is that everything he has had up online is taken down. That shows me they're very uncomfortable with some of his videos,
Yeah, something must be going on. I mean, something serious. Do you think they would have removed all his stuff if he just walked away on his... Well, I guess they would if he just walked away on his own. But it makes it seem that, something serious happened, I don't know. It's all speculation because we don't know. So,
Well, yeah, that's what we do here at the Six Screens. We're ex-witnesses, and like anybody, you have thoughts, and we can all express our thoughts. We don't know for sure, but we can express our thoughts. Nothing, no wrong with that. No harm.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Well, always good to hear from you, Shirley. Always good to hear from Shirley. Thank you, Shirley.
Okay.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Rick, I was wondering, is your daughter, is she still a witness? Or, because you said that your son-in-law and your daughter doesn't speak to you. So I was wondering, do they go to that same hall that you're going to pick it at?
No, they moved. They live in Tennessee right now. They moved. So I think one of the reasons why they moved is because of my protesting. I really do. I mean, it had to be hard. I have to say that. I mean, if I was a witness and my father was out protesting in front of the Kingdom Hall, it would be awkward. But I don't care. She wouldn't talk to me. So I figured, hey, I'm just going to blow the whistle on these guys. That's it,
Yeah, I know that must be hard on you, huh? Because you know so much about the Watchtower, but yet your daughter won't listen to you, huh?
No, as a matter of fact, she used to. We have a market basket, they call it. It's like a grocery store, a big grocery store, and I would go there and I'd see her in there a number of times, and she would just walk right past me as though I was dead. I mean, this is her father, right? So after about 3 or 4 times of meeting her like this, one day I said, stop right here. I'm your father. Let's talk. I wanted to tell her that, her mother died. She knew that. And I remarried just a couple of years later. But I wanted to tell her about that. I mean, she's my daughter. But I says, I won't talk about the Watchtower. We'll just let that go. So as I was talking to her, all of a sudden, she broke out in tears. I mean, really big crocodile tears, and ran into the ladies' room at the market basket. And then, I was waiting for her to come out, and she came out. I says, are you all right, Jack? I won't mention her name. I says, are you all right? And she was just huffing and puffing and didn't want to talk. But here's how I feel about the shunning. I feel that the shunning not only hurts people who are being shunned, but I believe it also hurts people emotionally who are shunning people. That is not a natural way of doing business. That is a terrible thing. What's really more important than your family? You guys just stop and think about it. You guys got family. You got mothers, you got fathers, you got sisters, brothers, cousins. What's more important to that? That's one of the accoutrements of life. That's one of the feelings you get when you're around family that you don't get anywhere else. But the Watchtower can just go around and break these families up and then if a person is disfellowship, well, don't talk to that person. That's going to be emotional on both parties. I know we talk a lot here on Saturday night about the emotions that ex-witnesses go through for being disfellowship. But think about even the witnesses. I'm thinking, Susan, my wife, my wife, Susan, she's got a couple of beautiful daughters that won't talk to her either. And I keep saying to Susan, I'm thinking it may be harder on them than it is even on you. Because how can you do that? How can you? Every day, this is how I look at it. My daughter, every day, and Susan's daughters, they got to get up and they got to look in the mirror. That's what we do, right? First thing in the morning, you get up, you shave, you wash your face, take a shower. You look in the mirror. You make sure you're still looking pretty good, right? After a night's sleep, you look terrible, right? But anyways, they have to look in the mirror and they're going, geez, I look more like my father every day. Oh, gee, I look more like my mother. You can't take that out of them. They got to remember you. You only have one father and mother, right? You have a heavenly father, but you only have one earthly father, only one mother. So, that's the greatest gift of all. They brought you into the world. And geez, if you weren't an abusive parent and you were nice to the children and you raised them in a good way, geez, that's got to hurt. That has got to hurt children to shun their parents like that, and vice versa. So that's just my thoughts on it. You're on with us. Go ahead.
Do you have any?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
No, I was going to say, do you have any grandchildren?
I have grandchildren and I have great-grandchildren. Yeah.
And they shun you too?
Well, the good news is no. This witness curse doesn't seem to be carrying on to my grandchildren. It's not. So that's a good thing. The generational curse stopped, I guess you could call it. But it's no, they're not shunning me. No. So that's good. And I thank God for that. I thank God for that. Yes. Yeah.
Thanks, Rick.
Oh, you're very welcome. Always good to hear your voice. You got a nice, calm sound about you. That's very nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So who's on with us now? Who wants to say hello to us? You're on Six Screen.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Farron.
Yes, Ken.
Yes. I've been listening to the program here with interest and so forth, and I just hope that the USA will go the route of Norway, and I hope Norway follows through with cracking down on the Watchtower Society. And I listened to what interest they said they're going to they'll open an office that's going to be defending the freedom of religion over there, or some words to that effect. I don't know. Well, the Watchtower Society is one of the biggest violators of civil rights and human rights. As we've just been listening all along, they put themselves above the Constitution of the U.S. They put themselves above the laws of the land. They put themselves above the constitutions of other countries and their laws of the land, too, that are interested in protecting freedom of religion and so forth. And shunning is one of the most destructive things that exists and so forth. And hardly no Christianity religion practices it, but only the cultic religions practice that. Destructive cults like the Watchtower Society, Amish, and some of the other ones practice that, in which they are not, and they're so far away from Orthodox Christianity that you don't even know where they're at right now and so forth. So it's really outrageous. And I hope it will come to an end someday, and I hope that they will start cracking down on the shunning here too.
Well, I tell you what, it could come to that, Ken. I don't say it won't. All of a sudden, these governments now, it's a bad practice. And not only that, right here in America right now, everybody has got a voice. It's not like it used to be. Everyone is coming out and they have a voice, whether it be a race, whether it be a gender, whether it be a religion, whether it be ethnicity. Everyone has a voice. And the United States right now is trying to desperately let everyone have that without being condemned or beat up. So that's a good thing in principle. That's a good thing in principle. I'm not saying it's bad. So that's what I'm thinking could happen here. You have a religion in this country that's based right here in New York, an American business, and you have an American religious business organization that is pulling fast ones on people, shunning them, discrediting them, making them feel 2 feet high. Hey, everybody else is getting, the Asian people, the black people, the transgenders. Why not people that have been beat up by the Watchtower? And you just can't get away with it today. And I'm really surprised that they haven't come down on the witnesses already over this. So I think it's only a matter of time, Ken.
Yeah, another thing that's outrageous too and everything like that, they do that all at the expense of taxpayers' money and so forth. And they get the expense of, somebody else. Expensive, they call it charitable contributions, but I think that's about the same thing as taxpayers' money and so forth. They don't do it with their own money, but they take it from money that they bilk from somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ken. Always good to hear from Northern Michigan.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Keep listening to you.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to put this is a newspaper article right out of Germany. Let me see if I can't read you that. If you're on YouTube and Facebook, you can see it. But this got my attention. And what it's showing there, well, it's not that particular one. No, let's see. I got the wrong article up. Well, hold on one second. Well, maybe I don't have that article up, but that's okay. But I'm looking at an article here that from Germany, a newspaper article. And what it's showing, it's last Saturday's funeral. On March 25th, the Jehovah's Witnesses held their own funeral at their own venue for the Jehovah's Witnesses that were killed in Hamburg, Germany. Now, what's fascinating to me, and really even having a hard time understanding what's being said here, because I had to translate everything from German into English through Google. But anyways, it's showing a picture of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 well-dressed people, men with beards, women with dresses on. Nobody looks like a nutty person, and they're all standing out there. And there was actually, hold on one second. I just cancel this. Hold on one second. As I'm trying to read this, all of a sudden, okay. All right, so let me just kind of read this to you, and I'll give you an idea. So they're holding a sign. These 7 people are standing in front of the funeral of the Jehovah's Witnesses last Saturday in front of the building, and it says nail mills. It says nail mills alien. And I'm saying, what is a German word? Nail mills alien. It means stand alone is what it means in English. So what these people are doing is they're standing outside the funeral of the Jehovah's Witness for the ones that died in Hamburg. And thousands were inside the building. As a matter of fact, up to 4,000 people gathered inside the building. But these people were left outside, but there was plenty of seats still inside. So this got the attention in the Hamburg's newspaper. Well, why are these people standing outside? But they didn't really say why, because there were seats in front. And even in the whole article, it did not say why they were outside, because there were seats in that arena for the funeral, but they weren't in there. So it appears to me, and I'm just guessing, because if anyone knows otherwise, please let me know. But it appears as though these may be people that were just fellowshipped and just wanted to come, and maybe they knew some of the people that were killed, but they weren't allowed to go into the funeral service itself. So that's just my feelings on it, but I'm not sure at all, because I just couldn't make sense out of the article. But it appears that way. And they evidently could be people that had feelings, even though they were apostates and disfellowship perhaps, but they were not allowed evidently to go into the building. So that caught the attention of the press over there in Hamburg. But anyone knows anything different about it, let me know, because I just couldn't understand exactly what was taking place. But what I do understand took place. Let me read you part of the newspaper that did make sense to me. If you want to hold on, I'm just going to mute you, 812. We're just going to mute you, and then we can bring you in after I discuss this story right here. 812, you hang in, I'll get to you. So what did make sense to me is they did give an idea what happened. It says thousands of members of the Jehovah's Witness faith commemorated the victims that were killed March 9th in Hamburg. They did that last Saturday at a funeral event. The event was entirely dedicated to the Jehovah's Witnesses. And there was upwards of 4,000 people evidently that gathered. And it was 90,000 people online, Jehovah's Witnesses that were listening in online. And it was a sad thing. I mean, there's nobody's going to mock it and make fun of it. Nobody likes to see people shot up and killed like that. But anyways, what took place here is they did have some high officials. They had the mayor of Hamburg. He was there, and he was giving his feelings about it, and he was saying how sad it was that happened in Hamburg. Well, anyways, I'll cut to the chase here. The brother giving the talk, the brother who was giving the talk, a brother Kupek, I guess that's how you pronounce it. Kupek, I guess is how you'd say it. But he gave the talk, and he did. I wasn't even sure they're going to mention the names of the people, but they did mention the names of the people that were killed. Philip F., former Jehovah's Witness. They're saying he's the guy that shot them. I'm sorry. But they did mention the names of the ones that were shot. Dan, Stephen, James, Marie, Stephanie, so Sebastian, Romy was the little baby. The little baby's name was Romy that wasn't even born yet, and the baby died. It was shot. The mother got shot right in the belly. So anyways, they mentioned the names of the witnesses that were shot, and then the other thing that interest, which I thought was kind of fascinating, the hall was almost not decorated. There wasn't much going on in this hall. It was a sports arena over there in Hamburg, Germany, and there was 5 large flower arrangements right at the stage, and they had, of course, the relatives and close friends come up front. But you know what's funny? They did not have any photos or portraits of those killed. Now, this got the attention of the press in Germany, because usually what you do when you go to a funeral today, they have pictures, they have like little collage of pictures showing the people what they did. There was none of that. The newspapers reporting there was no altar and no cross. Well, I don't know where they got that. The witnesses don't use an altar or cross anyways. But and they were playing stringed music, guitars, maybe like a violin or something. But anyways, they were playing stringed music. And I found it all fascinating that many could observe, especially some people who were from Germany, like the mayor and some other high officials. They did attend the service. As a matter of fact, even the president of Germany, Steinmeier, his name is Steinmeier, he wasn't there, but he sent a message that the mayor of Hamburg actually did read. So that's fascinating. I found that somewhat fascinating. So that's what on last. So now the witnesses are buried, and it was a sad event for all of us, not just the Jehovah's Witness, but also the ex-witness world was affected as well. Any thoughts on that at all? If you'd like to come in and say hello to us, you can do that right now. Come on in, say hello, hit *6, and you want to talk about the funeral, anything else? If not, we'll move to the next story that I found very, very fascinating. I mean, this story really is very, I'll tell you what, it really sparked my interest. Let's go with that. Did you want to say something, Linda? Did Apostle Babe want to say something? She's on with us. If you do, *6. All right. I guess she doesn't want to say anything, but that's okay. So let's go to the next story. We have.
Hello?
Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay. So there was something very distinctive I recognized from the funeral, is that he talked about it as though they were looking forward to seeing the baby again in the future.
Go ahead, Linda. Slow it down a little bit. You're breaking up a little bit. Come on back in.
They spoke about seeing the unborn baby in the future. And the doctrine used to be, if the child did not get born and take its first breath, it would not be resurrected. But in this funeral, they spoke of when they get to see the baby again, as though the baby will be resurrected. So maybe that doctrine has changed.
Yeah, I mean, have you heard otherwise about that doctrine? At one time, they didn't think, I guess it wasn't born yet. Did the Watchtower ever say that a not born baby could be resurrected? Do you ever remember hearing that?
The doctrine used to be, if the baby did not take a full breath of air, then, or, you know, if it was born a stillborn or a miscarriage, they do not have a hope for a resurrection. But at this funeral, they spoke of the baby as having a hope for a resurrection. So I don't know if you knew about that, but many women have had broken hearts about this, you know. But it was nice to see them talk about the baby, seeing the baby in the future.
Well, now, Linda, you brought up a memory. Yes, indeed, you did. There was a sister. Yeah, now it's coming to me. Yep, there was a sister in our Kingdom Hall, and the baby came premature, and the baby had the baby was born without a brain. Yeah, the baby was born without a brain, and that poor sister. She was a young, beautiful sister. She was so upset, and I believe that's why, as I can remember, people muttering that the policy is won't come back in the resurrection. That's terrible.
Right.
I'll tell
Hey,
you.
Rick.
Yes.
Hey, Rick.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
It's Christine.
Yes.
I was always watching, when I was in the organization, watching out for information on that because my story, where I found out my parents, before they even got married, my mom and my dad were in a clinic, or, you know, back when it was illegal, because this was in the 50s, and I was actually on the table. So my mom was on the table to get the abortion for me. So I was always, you know, when I was in the organization, it always made sense to me that anybody aborted or miscarried or anything like that, I always thought it would only be fair if they were allowed to be resurrected. That was my opinion at the time. And then a question from readers came out. It didn't come out in a main study article or anything, but a question from readers came out, and they no longer had a definite answer for that. They didn't come out with an absolute. So basically they were softening on that concept of no resurrection, and that it very possibly would be a resurrection. Can't remember the words exactly, but if you go to it's in a Watchtower question from readers back when they used to have those.
Yeah.
You could search it in the organization. But that's what I remember. There was a softening on that, but I don't have the exact words. But anyway, I thought I'd share that.
Well, thank you. No, they flip-flop. Go ahead. Yep.
Yes. Hi, I'm sorry. I was just waiting from 812 for a long time. I don't know if everyone else, evidently you guys didn't see this, but they said that the reason Tony Morris was disfellowshipped or whatever was because of extortion. And it was in jw.com this morning. I cannot tell you where the article is right now. It was also talked about on a show called JW Thoughts with a young man named Wally. And they did say that he is attending a Kingdom Hall with where his sons go. And then, as everyone knows, they're taking a lot of the things away from him. It was millions of dollars, but I know one bill he did spend. And I thought on like 3 Easters ago, on Easter, he was at that, buying liquor, in New England somewhere or something. This bill was over $5,000 on one liquor purchase, like they had it. So I don't know how you guys find it. If you go to JW Thoughts, and the kid's name's Wally,
It was an April Fool's Day joke, honey. I watched the video. It was an April Fool's Day joke. I thought it was I thought it was very untasteful myself. I was upset about it.
I didn't know about that. I'm so sorry, you guys, and I've wasted your time. I'm so sorry.
No.
I just can't believe that.
No,
Oh
we're
my God.
fine. I just wanted to let everybody know. I got upset over it too, and I was pretty upset about it.
But he
Yeah, that's
apologized
not
on the chat earlier today. He apologized on the chat.
That's cool.
But yeah.
I'm so sorry. No, I didn't get that.
No, he's a good guy. He's
what?
a great guy. He's just everybody makes mistakes, and he
Yeah,
should
I
have.
love that.
He should have been more clear.
Well, I'm sorry, Rick, for taking up your time, but I
No, you didn't take up our time, and we all love Wally, and he does a good job, and he's really gaining a lot of momentum. But every once in a while, things get a little. I've done it myself. Things can get, sometimes that things can get a little out of control. But no big deal. Thank you, though, sister. Don't you
Well,
worry.
listen, I'm a 65-year-old grandma, and I cannot take jokes like this. But I didn't even realize just now it was April Fool's. I live in southern Indiana, and we had a tornado go through yesterday evening, and some of my son's friends were killed, and this town right beside me was almost a fourth of it was demolished. So we've been without electricity. So I was so happy when I got on here with you guys tonight, and I did hear that. So, but Rick, it's good hearing you. I love listening to your show. Every week I'm here. My name's Cherry Dye. Bye-bye, you guys. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yeah, and don't that bother you. Many times too, when I do stories here in the 6 screens, it is so hard sometimes because I'll get into a story, start writing it, then I'll find out, nope, that didn't happen. But that happens all the time. But Wally's a good guy. I promote his. I really, really do. He does good on YouTube. He's a good man. Thank you, sister.
Thank you for telling me, guys.
All right, you got it. All right, so boy, I'll tell you what, a lot of things are going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. I saw something this week. Did someone want to say something? You're on with us? Okay.
Oh, that was me. This is Wally.
Oh, Wally, how are you?
I'm super. Sorry to anyone that took
Wally,
that
I'm
seriously.
very upset with you. Very upset.
Well, now be nice to Wally. It's just a joke, that's all. Go ahead, Wally.
Oh, no, I love
Wally.
him and Zizi. I love him. And that's that.
We all love Wally. How could you not love Wally? Wally, what would you like to say?
Anyway. Oh, I just wanted to apologize. I really didn't. I even showed it to some of my friends that are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses beforehand, just to make sure that it was so obviously fake and because I photoshopped the whole thing, but I did it in the worst way possible. I left anyway. But anyway, if anyone took that seriously, I'm super, super sorry about that. But also, hey, shout outs to you, Rick. Good job for keeping up for 17 years or whatever, because I could not do this for 17 years, that's for sure. But hey, good job.
Well, thank you. And you're very good at animation and cartoon and all of that. You do very good at it, Wally. Keep cranking away.
I know. My videos are pretty stupid, to be honest, but I just try and have a little bit of humor and flair.
Well,
sometimes
there's nothing
we're
wrong
also
with that.
hurt that sometimes we just need to laugh.
We do need to laugh, so that's funny. But I was even going to pull a joke on here tonight, but I said maybe I better not, because sometimes they backfire. Sometimes they backfire. Jeez. Well, thank you.
Lesson learned on that one.
We all learn.
Going forward.
We all learn. Thank you, Wally, for coming in, and that's great. But don't worry, no damage done. No damage. Good.
I'll
Love
be
you,
in
Wally.
chat for. Thank you so much.
Hey.
I'll be in chat. Have a good the rest of the show.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Stay safe.
Well, there you go. See, so that's what a real man does. That's it's unlike the Watchtower. At least Wally came on and said, "Hey, look, I meant it to be fun, but it kind of backfired a little bit. No big deal. At least he admits it. Watchtower won't admit a thing. Jeez, they're just heading the wrong direction and just bury it." So anyways, I don't know if you guys, boy, I'll tell you, this week, I came across something that really, really rattled my cage. And I have to show you. I'm going to put a picture up here. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, you'll see it. And you're going to recognize this man right here. You recognize him? That is Alex Murder. It's pronounced like murder, but it's Murda. That's Alex Murda. And he was all over the news a couple of weeks ago, right? he murdered his son, he murdered his wife, shot them, killed them. And of course, he's now in prison. He's in an orange jumpsuit, but right there it shows him in court. But anyways, I came across this video, and it was actually on Alex Murdaugh, and a witness, a Jehovah's Witness woman, actually sent Alex the day he shot his son and his wife and killed them. Right before that happened, I guess it was the last text that was on his phone as it was examined by the police. So the last text that was sent out to him was from a Jehovah's Witness woman, just trying to get some witness time in. I don't know if you heard that or not, but I found that very, very fascinating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little bit of the clip from the woman, and I want you to hear it. And the woman is a sincere Jehovah's Witness, but she seems like a very nice lady. But I think this is an example of extreme ignorance, and it exists in the Watchtower organization. Extreme ignorance. And it's obvious that in the world of Jehovah's Witnesses, ignorance exists. But I'm not beating up on the lady, but I want you to hear this interview. Let me see if I can't get that up right now, because you gotta really see this and hear it to believe it. I had a hard time believing it. I mean, it wasn't totally over the top, but I just thought that, boy, that's a little bit strange. So let me get this up so we can hear it and see it. Let's play it. You'll hear it. Now, this is a newswoman, and she got wind of this Jehovah's Witness that sent Alex Murdaugh, sent him this text. So listen in. Maybe we won't play it all, but we'll play a good portion of it. Listen in.
We were recently reviewing the timeline report that was provided by SLED during the trial of Alec Murdaugh, and we noticed an interesting entry at 5:26 p.m., just hours before the murder of his wife and son. This text came from a Miss Cynthia Washington and included some text from the Bible. It was the last line that struck me the most, and it read, "At that time, people will realize that money cannot save them from the coming calamity." I thought this text was so interesting that I reached out to Cynthia this weekend to talk to her about that text and what prompted her to send it. And here's our conversation.
I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay, I thought I recognized the text.
Yes, ma'am. I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and Jehovah's Witnesses, when we hear things like that, it just broke our heart.
A lot of people don't know this, but if you have the YouTube app on your...
We just, for some reason, lost that. That drives me nuts when that happens. But anyways, I'm going to stop it right there. So I'll just kind of fill you in on what was going on with the woman. I don't know why that happened to me, but it does every once in a while. I wish I could go back to it. All right, we're going to end it right there on that one. But let me explain what happened in that video. So there's a Jehovah's Witness woman. You heard a little bit of her. So she came on. She was talking to the news reporter, and so she sends a text out every day. She says she sends out about 50 of them. What she does is she copies and pastes the daily text that she gets, from the daily text Jehovah's Witness book. And then what she does is she sends it out to about 50 people a day. Now, Alex Murdaugh happened to also be her lawyer, as well. So she knew him. So she was like not silently, but witnessing through text messages and what have you. But, in that conversation, she just was saying what a great guy Alex was, and he's a wonderful man. Never said anything bad about Alex. I mean, Alex, he killed his wife. He killed his son. I mean, does she realize what he did? And in the interview with that news person, she's just going on and on and on. This is what she does as a Jehovah's Witness. And she did not even evidently realize what happened. I mean, but she had to. Because that's why the woman was interviewing her. I'll tell you what. He now is in an orange jumpsuit in prison for doing this. But what I find fascinating here is, in this day of the internet and social media, This is another way the witnesses can actually get a witness in and get time in. And that's how that person was getting time in, by texting Alex Murdoch. And, this is what the witness is doing. But I'm thinking now that he's in prison, he'll be well suited now to come out and become a Jehovah's Witness elder. I mean, they've got plenty of elders that I'm sure have done fraudulent things. I'm not sure about murder, but I did probably consider him if he told the line and wanted to study with them and reproved, got repented, so to speak, that he become a witness too. So, but I'm just, kind of jiving around here a little bit, but it really was something. But what the Jehovah's Witnesses are doing, and what this Mrs. Washington, Sister Washington, what she was doing by texting many people, that's religious spam. Well, what's worse than religious spam? Did you get that? I mean, I'm a Christian man too, but enough is enough after a while. And people keep spamming and spamming and spamming you to the point that you can't even take it anymore. And you imagine this is what the witnesses are doing. This is what the witnesses are doing to innocent people, spamming them. So it's pretty strange. Now, the woman, what the news reporter actually said to Sister Washington. Now get a load of this. So the woman was saying, boy, that's really prophetic. Maybe God was telling you something. No. God wasn't telling Sister Washington to text Alec Murdoch. It's just, that's part of her routine. But you see how people think. So the news reporter's thinking, oh, this is unbelievable. And then on that YouTube clip, I couldn't believe the comments on the bottom of people writing in and, oh, whoa, she must have been inspired by Jehovah. Of course, these would have been witnesses, right? Now, there was no inspiration. Believe me, there wasn't any. First of all, it didn't stop him from committing murder, did it? No. But it just was one of those, I know people don't believe in coincidences, but it was just one of those strange, off-the-cuff stories. So I thought you'd enjoy that as well. So anyways, that's done and finished. I don't think there's anything even worth talking about there, to be honest with you. But I'm going to bring this subject up now. We still have about 15 minutes left because, Barbara Anderson, of course, we heard that she has COVID. And she's not doing too well with it. She's having some issues. We're trying to get her back on the program here with us, and hopefully she'll be on. But, Barbara Anderson said something. She has her own program here on the Six Screens. And what Barbara Anderson said about 2 months ago, and people have really been mentioning it to me. She mentioned that Barbara said that there was wife swapping taking place in Bethel when she was there. They call it swinging. It's wife swapping. In other words, you swap your wife for the night, you swap your husband for the night. I mean, I guess witnesses were really into that. Really, it's a strange subject. I heard about it in many congregations. I don't think it was happening in my congregation. I don't think, at least here in Massachusetts, but it might have been happening in Florida. It might have been, but I can't tell you for sure. But, there's been many people coming on the Six Screens here. And, in the last 17 years have talked about this. It seems to be a very profound practice in the Jehovah's Witnesses of wife swapping. So, in view of what Barbara said and people writing me about it, I just wanted to touch base with this subject because it's really an odd thing for Jehovah's Witnesses, where they treat sex and marriage and everything so critically that witnesses would even be involved in this. But evidently, it's bigger than you think. And, there's one particular scandal that, people have brought up here on the Six Screens that happened in the Midwest. It was about 10 years ago, and it had to do with a 20-year-old woman. Well, I'm sorry, not a 20-year-old, it's a 20-year-old affair. There was the wife of a coordinating body of elders, wife of a Kobe, and she had a 20-year affair with another elder from a neighboring congregation. And this was going on for years. So finally, the wife got disfellowshipped, and she saw it coming. She saw them catching up on me now. She saw it coming. But before she had her judicial committee hearing, she wrote letters, emails to all of the other elders' wives and other friends in the congregation, detailing all kinds of insane stuff, including abuse she was privy to. And I can tell you really that, these people have come on the 6 screens and talk about this stuff. I mean, it appeared to be 100% real. I don't think it was urban legends, but this took place. And so, she started talking about all of the abuse, sexual abuse that was going on. And then as I kept going with the 6 screens, because we allow everyone to come on the 6 screens and talk. So we've had numerous people come on here for many, many years. And so it's pretty much in all the states. I've heard it from, California, Ohio, Florida, up here in the Northeast, the Midwest, you name it, Colorado, you name the state, I've heard about it taking place. So what you have here is couples are doing this, whether you want to believe it or not. Now, maybe it didn't happen in your congregation, but friends, there's enough evidence to show that this has been happening for quite a while, for decades, and it's even going on as we speak. I can't believe, I mean, I often think, well, how do people even involve themselves into something like this? I mean, can you imagine you're out to dinner with another witness couple? I don't know how this would happen. You guys want to swap wives and husbands tonight? I mean, how do you really do that? Jeez, I mean, to me, that's pretty brazen, right? But geez, it seems to be happening. I mean, we do have a lot of sexual deviant people in the Watchtower. We have people that are just perverts. We know that it's a sexually dysfunctional cult and something's wrong in this organization. But through the 17 years, I've had all of these stories coming in, and it's just something that I thought I'd bring up tonight, where it's been brought to my attention that this was brought up on one of our programs, and if we could elaborate a little bit. So has anyone ever heard of this before? Is there anyone out there in our listening audience? I know the writing here on YouTube, I can see in the chat, a lot of people have seen this and they know it's disgusting. Is there anybody out there online here tonight that has ever witnessed this personally, or maybe even knew all about it? Who'd like to speak up? If you like to, go ahead, hit *6. I don't think we'll get too many takers on it, but I did want to bring it up. If you're on with us, go ahead, 615.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Farron.
Yes, well, let's hold on, Ken. We do have 615 first. Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
615, you're on with us.
Oh, that's me, Rick. Eric.
Yeah, Eric. Have you heard about this practice?
Kind of. If I can tell you the story that I have, there was this brother that I knew, and he found out that his wife cheated on him with another man, elder in another congregation, and he had a crush on his wife, and he knew she had a crush on him too, so he he seduced her and had sex with her, and she got pregnant, and this guy, the kid from that, they hid it and they never told the father. The thing is that I ended up knowing the guy, and he doesn't look like the rest of the family, and he has a different personality than the rest of the family. And when I found that out from a friend of mine, it all made sense. And I'm like, holy shit, that's even worse. I guess Watchtower would make you so afraid of losing everything that you would have to hide something like that, you know?
Well, Eric, absolutely. I mean, but there's a lot of perversion that goes on. Now, I'm looking in here at our chat, and they're saying, that goes on. Now, Maverick, a good friend Maverick, I like what he wrote here because it jogged my memory. He says, I'm looking for the Watchtower reference where they mentioned it. And yes, they did mention it. I remember that. Maverick, thank you for reminding me that the Watchtower actually mentioned that this was taking place in one of their articles. I don't have it in front of me, but I didn't even think to look it up today. But more than likely, that will solidify this whole thing. So it's something that was quite prevalent. So let's go. Let's see who else wants to speak up. Let's go with 704. 704. 704, you're on with us. Go ahead. All right.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead, 704. Yep.
Okay. This was around the 70s when I was at Bethel. There was a couple of problems. There was a brother called Fred Myers that his wife, he was a circuit overseer, and his wife went out with another brother. It was for the same time that the wife swapping was going around. And then she went with this other brother, and she got pregnant, and she had a kid with Down syndrome. About the same time, we knew another brother that was an elder that had an affair with her sister. And during the same time, what he did was that when the memorial came around, he gave the talk and the prayer. And plus, we had the same problem in the mid-70s, that we had the problems with homosexuals at Bethel. So during all this time, I saw all this stuff going on. And this has been going on for years. It's nothing new.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And you're absolutely right. It is nothing new, and it has been going on for years. And many of us just never seen it. But thank you for chiming in. My goodness, we've got a lot of people who want to weigh in here. So let's now go to, let's take a look at, let's go to 540. 540, you're on with us.
It's me.
It's Pixie, yep.
I've had a lot of adventures in this life, but I do not believe in adultery, and I don't believe in swinging from the chandelier. But that being said, I'm one of the older people here, and I know that in the 50s, this sort of thing was very popular amongst the missionaries. And even, my dad said, even in the 40s. So it was kind of a missionary thing. It was kind of the missionary couple agreed, and they'd go to these other lands. They'd go and visit people at other houses. And this is not new.
So what a deviant organization, Pixie. Seriously. Well, thank you, Pixie, for sharing your thoughts here tonight. We'll go to 910. 910, you're on with us.
Hi, Rick. It's Sharon in North Carolina.
Yeah, Sharon.
Okay. I'm aware because I was in the congregation when my mom ran away with a 15-year-old, and I turned her in. There was 15 elders removed from the 4 congregations. It was one building, but it was 4 different congregations that met together, at different times. And they had to have Bethelites come out to do the meetings because all those elders were removed. And it was all because of the wife swapping. So when I turned my mother in, all this other stuff started coming out.
Well, you're right, Sharon. And so many congregations have had elders removed. Yes. Really, whole bodies of elders have been removed because of this. Thank you. Thank you for telling us that story. Okay, we got another area code, 718. 718, you're on with us.
Hey, Rick, I think I remember I mentioned this on this show a few years ago, but there was a congregation of Brooklyn called Spring Congregation. Just about when the circuit overseer came in and he was aware of all this wife swapping and this and that, just about the whole congregation was let go, which is about this fellowship.
Yeah.
That was like back, I think it was in either the mid-70s or early 80s, but just about the whole congregation was this fellowship.
Well,
I remember that distinctly.
Well, you're right, Shirley. No, we've heard of it. No, in fact, many congregations have dissolved. Let's go to 207. 207, you're on with us.
Hey, Rick, Doc Bob here.
Oh, it's Doc Bob. Doc Bob,
So-
yes.
Hey. Yeah, so I was appointed as an elder in 1985, and I'd been a ministerial servant for quite a few years at that point. And I thought I knew what was going on in my congregation. But when I became an elder and started getting the picture of what was really going on, I was absolutely shocked at the amount of infidelity sexually that had been going on in the congregation. And when you think about it, back then there was, I don't know, 5-6 million people in the organization at that point. We'll say 5 million. Circuit overseer told me that about 1% of witnesses were disfellowshipped each year, the majority of those for sexual immorality. So that's 50,000 people a year. And it amazed me when I got out of the witnesses and got involved in a church and was talking to the pastor there about church discipline. And he said that basically they followed Matthew 18. And, you know, that when a situation came up, they would go to the elders. And then if that didn't work out, they would take it to the whole congregation. And they would meet and they would pray for and about that person. But I asked him, I says, how often does this happen? And he's kind of sitting there counting. And he says, well, maybe 5 or 6 times. And I says, a year? And he goes, no, in the 20 years I've been pastor. So for all of the proclamations that the Watchtower Society and the witnesses have made about how moral they are, I found that they were actually far more immoral than any church that I've ever been in.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Bob. Really. Well, no, she just solidifies what we're saying. It's just that Barbara Anderson mentioned it here one night, and so people have been wondering about it. So I figured I'd bring it up, but it's going on. Well, thank you, Bob, for weighing in. Always good to hear from you. Thank you.
Rick?
Yes, go ahead.
Rick?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That brother who said he was at Bethel, can you get him to come back on?
I don't know. We can ask him. I don't know if he gave a name, but the brother was at Bethel. Did you want to come back on? I don't know what area.
And he mentioned a couple, and he said something about they had a child with, they had a child, and the child was not well.
Oh, okay. The Down. He had Down syndrome.
Yes.
So that brother that was saying that he knows it took place at Bethel. Could you come back on and clarify this for us? So we have a man that wants to talk to you. Come on back on. Hit *6. Well, we'll see if we can get him back on here, Zach. So just hang in there.
Okay.
All right. Okay. We got. Looks like we get 60. Go ahead. 602. Yep.
Hey, Rick, it's coming in. Wait, on the wife's.
We're having a hard time with your phone, Gilbert. We're having a hard time with your phone. Yep.
Oh. Do you remember how I told you how they penetrate the congregation is like a termite colony? They move up.
Yeah.
That'll explain the wife swapping. Because think about it. If you have Gilead graduates and others that are wife swapping, then how do you get a promotion in Bethel? How do you get a promotion in the organization? That's how they do it. This is a recipe for, once the cancer has reached the top of the organization, this would explain how it's an infestation in the organization. And this is why sometimes you think like, how did brother so-and-so get that promotion? How did he become a circuit overseer? How did he become this? Well, now you, like Paul Harvey says, now you know the rest of the story.
Well, you got a point with that. I mean, hey, they're a corrupt organization. Hey, we have a caller coming in from the United Kingdom. Go ahead. We got a caller from the United Kingdom. Go ahead.
That's fantastic. Can you hear me, Rick?
We can hear you. Yep. Fine and dandy. Yep.
That's fantastic. First of all, I'd like to say hello to everyone in America, from the United Kingdom. I'm here live in central London. First of all, I would like to apologise for putting into your evening. I'm not going to participate in the topic that you're talking about. I'm a little bit behind you. We've been trying to link into your program. We've had a bit of a problem with the phone lines, but I'm glad that we now have your phone number, and we will be participating in a week to come on your program. And I hope that we can add some value in the future. So this is really an opportunity just to make sure we can have a connection. What I would like to say, listening to your program, it's a great program. It's great to hear comments from around America and the world. And if we can just have one comment tonight, you made I caught something that you said earlier about perhaps Jehovah's Witnesses may feel pain when they shunned their family, and that caught my attention as we were trying to get a communication with you on the phone lines. And I would just like to say, before we will communicate over the weeks to come, we've got lots of things to send to you and to your listeners. But I would like to make this one comment. There's no such thing as a Jehovah's Witness. There are degrees of Jehovah's Witnesses. You have number 10, ardent follower to the death, and you have 0, participating but not truly believing. I personally have experienced people that have shunned me, and I'll give you an example. The last time I spoke to my eldest brother, who's a circuit overseer within the United Kingdom, the very last thing he said to me was, because he knew, and this was at my mother's funeral, they looked upon mother's funeral as the last opportunity to bring me back. And when they realized that there was no chance of me ever becoming a Jehovah's Witness again, and by the way, I'm 58, and I left when I was 17, he said to me, the best thing we can hope for you is that you die. Now, I'd always knew that. I already knew that was their belief system, that I was already dead, that they hoped for my death. But when you actually hear that said to you verbally from your own sibling, it hit me like a bullet. Who can say that to someone? Who can say to someone of your own blood, the best I hope for you is that you die? Because what it means is you're lost. We hope you die before Armageddon. Maybe you'll have a chance. But you and I both know that's not.
That's a terrible thing, brother. Hey, listen, here's what I'm going to say to you. We're up on another program coming up, but I'm glad you're listening. What I want you to do for me is you write me. I'm going to get you a way to come on free, so you don't have to call in and spend money. I have an app you can come on, and you can call in so easy. If you write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com, I'll give you the instructions on getting the app. And then you can call in from the United Kingdom. Won't cost you a penny. It'll be nice and clear.
Okay. I'm sorry if we've interfered with your program.
Oh, no. I wish we had some more time, because what I like to do is I would like to have you come on, and I'd like to give you time to tell your whole story. I really would. I would love to hear your whole story and find out.
I was at London. I was at the Bethel in London when Michael Jackson turned up in 1981.
Yeah.
And I've also sadly represented Watchtower on a media capacity as they explored their relationships with the music business. So,
wow.
Yes, there's lots of things that I'd like to discuss.
Oh, yeah. Well, I want to get you on so you can tell your whole story. I'll spend an hour and a half with you some night and go through the whole story. So would you write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com? And geez, you and I want to make some music with you. Seriously, I think it could be very helpful for people listening in. Geez, thank you for calling in.
Before I go, Rick.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Before I go, Rick, can I say one thing before I go?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
There's a little story that I'd like to share with you, but not tonight. And it's something that I think you'd like to hear. And it's about broadcasting. It's about I tried as a young person to move into the world of radio broadcasting, and it was met with what I could only describe as disastrous consequences. I was making tea in a radio station, and I was given an opportunity to host a radio show, and it went down like a ton of bricks. And that was back in the 80s, So I've got quite a few stories to tell about this. abysmal, disgusting, reprehensible organization that pretends to act as a front for God. It isn't. It's disgusting.
Well, thank you very much, brother. Now, I really enjoyed talking to you, and write me, please. We're going to get together and get you the app, give you the directions, because I do have a number of people calling from the United Kingdom with the app. Thank you, brother. We got time for one. I just want to make one.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night to
Yeah,
America.
thank you. Good night to you over there in England. And I just want to say one thing too. Fran and Joe, hold on for just a couple of minutes here, and we just got a couple more people. We're on the line here. Then we're gonna go to Fran and Joe. Go ahead. You're on with us. Area code number 203.
You know who that is.
I know who that is.
Carrie.
Yes, Carrie.
Yeah, Carrie, Carol, or whoever you want to call me.
All right.
Listen, when you get a chance and you take a break, I want you to read the sweet chat. You know, let me tell you one thing that's going on. I mean, I love this show. I've been watching it for a long time and listening. But Jimmy Bell loves his conspiracy theories and stuff like that. That's fine. He's got his audience. But when he comes in here and he starts crap about, you know, we had enough from the Watchtower, you know, listening to their whatever propaganda. Now he's trying to say that Barbara Anderson was probably wife swapping with her husband because she knew about it. Now you put that stuff, that's inciting people. And it's disrespectful. And it's so negative about her. She's a fine lady.
Well, do we know that?
I can't believe that he's doing this stuff in the suite.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. That might not be the real Jimmy Bell.
Yeah, well, he's never barely in the suite. He usually is on YouTube. I don't know.
It's in my. I don't think that's him. There's a lot of people that use fictitious names or steal other people's names.
Oh yeah, I get it.
I don't think.
Well, I don't appreciate it. I don't like it. He is trying to put that crap in people's minds about Barbara. No, we don't like it.
Yeah, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not sure it was even him in there, but
yeah. Well, if that is Jimmy, then tell him to get the hell on the phone and talk to us.
Yeah, well,
because if this is really him, then he will get on the phone.
Yeah,
I don't like disrespectful people. I don't.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure really. I mean, he might be taking it out of context. I mean, I haven't read what's being said there.
Oh, no, there's no context.
No?
None. When you read
she's
it,
not taking it out of context. She's not taking it out of context.
Exactly, Rick. It's at
There's someone who
2124. Go back 2124. Okay, and
Yeah.
that's where it is. No. Scroll back. Read it. 2124. Read it.
And what he attempts to do, whoever that is, they're calling themselves Jimmy Bell, but he was all about the big picture. This guy, whoever it is, guy or girl.
and
They're
he's
saying that
directing
because
people
one of the
to his
things,
channel.
yes, one of the things he seems to be trying to say is because Barbara Anderson brought this up, she probably was a part of this kind of thing too.
Exactly. That's the same one on YouTube.
No, there's no misunderstanding on our part.
Foolish. Let's not be foolish, okay? Let's not be foolish here.
Well, Jimmy he's writing. I see him on YouTube chat, and he's saying that he's not even hasn't been on the suite. So I think.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Me neither. Then. Okay. Yeah. I wasn't on the suite either. Then.
Yeah, but surely we have to. I see this all the time. Most of the people in here, including yourself, are using fictitious names. Are you not?
No, I got two shows to me. What do you mean? Yeah, of course we don't use our real names, Rick. I mean, come on.
Right, but I
Everybody
mean,
on the suite probably uses
if people
Let's
come,
not be foolish.
if people,
when
I'm
you
not.
said something about Barbara, that's the same.
Well,
Jimmy on YouTube.
wait a minute. Wait. You're jumping to conclusions. I just said that people use fictitious names, and there's also imposters, and there's also people that have done this before. This is not the first time I've seen this. So I think.
Oh, yeah, we
So-
know that. We know that. We've been here a long time.
Well, what
just that-
Jimmy would like to do is he would like to have your phone numbers, and he wants to call you each. Are you willing to? Are you willing to?
You know what? I trust you with my phone number, and I trust some of the people in here.
Well, that's
in the suite, but not
Not Jimmy. No, not Jimmy at
Well-
all. We're not falling.
Well, you know, I think what you have to do here is, realize that you can't believe everything.
Hey, I'm here. Hey.
Jimmy, go ahead. Speak
Stop.
your piece. Speak your piece.
Oh, hell no. I am not even on the suite. I don't even go on the suite. The only thing I do is I am in the YouTube chat. I have no clue about Barbara Anderson's life. I didn't even know the hell she was married. I don't care. So every one of you that is talking shit about me right now need to shut the hell up, because it's not me.
Excuse me, we're not talking
Sorry.
shit about you.
Sorry.
We're not talking
Sorry.
shit
No,
about you.
Y'all just said,
What we just said
that
was there's
Jimmy
someone,
Bell, that is the one
someone in
they're
the suite
No,
that's
stop,
calling
stop.
themselves Jimmy Bell. And that
Well,
person, whether it is Jimmy Bell for real or someone else, whether it's a man or a woman, they are trying to say that Barbara Anderson probably engaged in the same thing. That's
Well,
she brought it up.
The first call, hold on,
So-
Rick, I need to defend myself. The first caller said, "Oh, the Jimmy Bell talks about his conspiracy theories, and now he's talking about that." Don't tell me y'all weren't trying to pin this on me.
We're pinning it on the person who's typing on the
Wait a minute. Wait a minute,
That said it tonight.
Jimmy.
Not the first person that said it tonight.
You deserve an apology from these people. You deserve an apology.
Absolutely.
Yes, you do. So I want you three people that have accused Jimmy of saying something he didn't do. I want you to tell him you're sorry.
Well, he was promoting. He was.
Well, it wasn't
promoting his
him.
channel.
It wasn't.
You know,
me.
No, it's just that we were watching Jimmy Bell talking about his program and who he was joining up with and the round table and all that stuff.
Well, Carrie, he deserves.
It was a conversation.
Well, I want you
And
guys.
now
The
he's into
conversation
this.
we were having that was the conversation I was having with some folks in the YouTube chat. I wasn't on the suite. I have not even mentioned Barbara Anderson's name. I don't even care to talk about her.
He deserves an apology.
Well, I will say this, Jimmy. Listen, I'll give a dog a bone, all right? I will apologize to you if this is not you in there, because I was following the chat in the beginning of your conversation with somebody and about your channel and about this and that and what things were going on. And then things started getting stupid. I will apologize for one thing, is that if I am wrong and that is not you, I will apologize.
Well, then you need to go ahead and do that, because it wasn't me.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, it's not. So
I don't
apparently
operate
he's
that way.
watching. This person is watching YouTube and what you're writing, because now he's repeating what you
Right.
just said.
That's a fictitious person in there. And Carrie, let me tell you something. You guys, Zachary as well as Shirley, should apologize to this man, Jimmy Bell.
Well, I already did.
Well, you did, but no, listen, Carrie, just listen to me for a second. Just listen to me for a second. Well, what's being said here, I could tell. I was reading some of the stuff in there. I knew that wasn't Jimmy. That's way out of character from him. He's not
Well,
that
then
type.
you should have stepped up and said something, Rick. And said what's
How
going
can
on
I?
in
How
the
can I?
suite right now.
How can I watch 7 computer screens at once and talk about this?
I know.
You just said you were watching. You just said
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
reading
well-
it, and you often do address the suite.
Yeah, I do address it, but we had some other conversations going on, but I knew that wasn't Jimmy. That's way out of character for him. And there's also a number.
I don't
In fact,
operate that way.
I'm gonna tell you right now, your name is not Zachary. We have Shirley's name is not Shirley. We have Gary is not Gary.
Is Carol, and I don't care. I came
No,
on this
you don't
in
know.
the suite with my real name a long time ago.
Well, you right, but what are you going by in there
I
now?
did.
Okay.
That's not even the issue. Why are you changing? You're changing the issue.
Jackie, I'm not changing the issue. I'm asking you to give Jimmy Bell. You accused.
Jimmy Bell, if that was not Rick, please. Jimmy Bell, if that's not you in the suite, I apologize to you because I don't want to see anyone misrepresented.
Okay, good. Well, that's good. He'll take that.
There you go. And
I
Rick,
agree.
I want to get it from
No,
Shirley.
okay.
I want to get it from Shirley. She's the one that started it.
Hello.
Shirley did not
start. Harry is the one they call.
I started.
All right.
Harry. So
Can I have my box of chocolates now for starting this? That I never got.
I
wish Hey, Rick.
Okay,
We're
okay.
New Englanders. We speak the way we're a little harsh sometimes, but you know, we don't like any. I mean, we've been fooled around with what the Watchtower has messed with our minds a long time. We have a voice now, so we use it.
All right.
That's the thing.
You ought to just back up and check before you speak about something, because what you guys did tonight was totally out of line. Because I don't operate that. I don't operate that way.
Okay, fine. No, well, I don't know you that well.
Well, apparently
Actually, I don't know you at all.
Okay.
So that's fine.
All right, we're gonna.
But see, the beginning conversation was all about you and what you were doing, and
all participants are muted.
All right, we're gonna move on. This is it. Jimmy, it was not Jimmy Bell. Jimmy Bell deserves. That's not Jimmy. I know it's not Jimmy, so he deserves an apology. We got to move on, folks. We got a million things we have to discuss here tonight. Fran and Joe have been waiting. Fran and Joe, are you on the program with us here tonight? Fran and Joe, you on with us tonight? Go ahead and speak up if you are. Fran and Joe, are you on with us tonight? Hello, Joe, Fran. Fran and Joe, you on with us? Well, we're having some difficulty getting them in. We'll go back here to our JW World News until we can get them in. Fran and Joe, go ahead and call up the program. You're coming in here tonight. I'm not sure what telephone number you're using, if you're on your cell phone or what. But if you're on here with us, come on in, Fran and Joe. All right.
Hi, Rick. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Yeah, who's this?
Oh, hi. This is Nadine. I just wish people would just be a little more respectful to you. I've been listening in, and I just don't like all this accusing people of things if you don't know exactly, and it just bothers me when people are rude to you. I don't like it. But anyways, I was calling about the wife swapping. I don't know if you're.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll take that call. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I have a friend that, a good friend, and she was married to an elder, and she had told me when they first got married that, first of all, he started beating her up, and then he wanted her to be with other men, and he wanted to watch. And also that my friend, her sister was married, her fleshly sister was married, and that her husband, who was the elder, wanted to swap the sisters. And, she was telling me all of this, and I just could not believe it. And then there was another incident in a congregation I was in probably about 10 years ago or so. And there was wife swapping going on with an elder and his wife. And it was just terrible. And it ended up with her, drinking. And then she had to go to the Betty Ford Center. And then their daughter committed suicide. So it's just, I know of these personal stories. And I know these people. And this does go on in congregations.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Nadine. My goodness, it does go on, and thank you very much for sharing.
Hello, Rick. Hello, Rick.
Yeah, somebody's got
I'm echoing.
Yeah, because you have YouTube on the background. Who's calling in? What number are you calling in from?
513.
All right, that's you. Yes, go ahead. You're on with us. Yep, you're all right.
John Fran here, Rick. This is King of the Dots.
Hello, Rick. John Fran here.
Yeah, hold on, Joe and
I'm
Fran. We'll
sorry.
do one more call and then we'll come to you guys. Good. Go ahead. Yep.
Okay.
I've kind of studied this phenomenon. You have so much sexual repression in Watchtower, and people are forced to marry someone they don't really want to marry because they have to marry in the truth, okay? So they're very dissatisfied, and it's probably been going back 50, 60 years this has been occurring. And suddenly they want to, get their rocks off, and they want to do it every which way they can. And I've been asked to do menage a trois several times by witnesses. They were all born, raised in the truth, and in one case, an elder son. And I still talk to him. I have his number all these years later. And he married an overseer's daughter, and they wanted to have sex with me and my wife, and they were like 25 years younger than us. So it's all about the repression. And if you're born in the truth, you're probably more repressed than anyone we know. That's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. Can I mention who you are in the chat?
Yeah, I'm King of the Dots. You want to know my real name?
You don't have to give your real name, but we know you're King of the Dots. Thank you. Hey, nobody else is using no one else is using the real name. You might as well keep your secret.
I actually, Rick, briefly, I try to be brief because that's how I really am in real life. I use my real name as my name on the internet, and Watchtower got me completely removed. Every comment, every possibility that I ever existed on the internet, they got it completely removed. So I got up the new name, King of the Dots, which I didn't originate. Disciples and Worship followed that name for me. So that's the story there.
Well, thank you very much, King of Dots. Always good to see you in the chat, and thank you for chiming in with us tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome, Rick.
Thank you. We've got Joe and Fran coming on. We're going to do the program. We're going to give you a little extra time tonight, Joe and Fran, so don't worry about that. I just want to clean up the caller list we have here. We got a number of people. Go ahead. Yep. You're on.
Rick, we're here.
Okay, Joe. Oh, well, what number are you calling in from, Joe, so I can just speak up here so I can keep you guys. I got so many numbers here. I can't. Are you calling in on your cell phone or what? Joe? Fran? Oh, they're having some sound issues here. I'm not sure what's going on with them with the phone. Joe and Fran, can you hear me? We want to bring you on, but your phone is giving you some trouble here tonight. Would love to get you on the phone, Joe and Fran. Well, this is the issue we have going on here tonight.
Hello.
Hello, Joe. Your phone line is very.
Hi, Rick. We're not coming. We hear you, Rick, but you're not connecting with us.
Well,
it says we're in you're backstage. Only the host can see.
Oh, I see. Wait a minute. I didn't know you guys were coming on the suite. I did not. Okay, I'm sorry. I see you in there. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's my fault. I thought you were coming on the phone. So I do see you on the suite.
Yeah, no.
So I'll give you some more time. In fact, I'm just going to wrap this up now. That'll be it for our calls. Sorry we couldn't get to everybody tonight, but we do have Fran and Joe. That was just a little miscommunication on my part. But anyways, we do have you on the suite. And so you're in a hotel room, it looks like, I think. Yeah. So we'll give you more time because we took a little more. All right, let's end this program now. I just want to thank everyone for coming into JW World News tonight. Boy, what a night we had. Lots of people calling in from all over the world. And again, my email is jwworldnews@gmail.com. If you're calling in from another country, let me know. I'll get you the app. It's a free app, and you can call in anywhere in the world. Also, I wanted to let people know that if you like our program, if you think this program is really working and helping, people do mention that, well, why don't you share it on Facebook or click the like button on YouTube and Facebook and let people know, subscribe to our channel. That'll be wonderful. And we can get this message out to more and more people. And we really appreciate everything you guys are doing out there, all the people calling in. sorry for the issue here tonight. I didn't mean to become the ruler and the judge here, but I just knew that was out of style for Jimmy Bell. I probably should have stepped in and said something, but geez, everything was going a million miles an hour. So sorry, Jimmy, for the confusion. And sorry for you guys too getting excited. I can understand you guys in the video suite would get excited. You would. So I'm not holding you guys hostage because that was very disturbing what was said. So I feel that everyone, we just overreacted to everything tonight. But thank you very much for coming into the Six Screens, JW World News, Fran and Joe, Outside Story coming up next. And remember, I want you to keep standing tall, never give in, never give up, keep moving forward. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. Fran and Joe next, stay with us. All right, we're going to end this program right here. Which, well, no, it's not that program. That's the Outside Story. So we're going to go over here. I got to go move my studio around here. I got to go to the next studio. We're going to end this broadcast. All right. So this broadcast